当群星低语，当夜幕垂落，命运的轮盘已悄然转动。八面灵头折射智慧锋芒，牌中事件在掌心翻动。盾与矛在星河下碰撞，元素交织成战略的罗网。这里没有注定的败者，唯有将星辰轨迹铭刻于卡背的译者。准备好掷出命运的骰子了吗？
Good morning. Don't be fooled. I'm not a morning person, but I have to get to the clinic to feed the critters or they'll start making a real racket. All set for your next trip? You know where you're going. Feeling okay? Got everything you need? Oh, actually, wait. There's just one last thing I want to check first.
No way, bro!
Here's to a safe journey.
Hit me up, bro!
Let's go.
Oh, dear! Oh, dear!
Come on, buddy. Easy now, Kakuku.
Hold tight, bro!
There's always going to be those moments where you have to say goodbye, but nothing's ever made me regret my choice. Animals are a lot like kids. They're the future, and I'll always protect them. I'm a medic, not a warrior. I leave my guns holstered unless I absolutely need them. Come here, you little rascal! If you ever need a hand with anything, don't be shy. Hit me up anytime.
Hit me up, bro!
When you create a new dish, all the ingredients have to work in harmony, like cogs in a machine. Oh, here's a better analogy. It's like composing a symphony from musical notes.
Sweet and sour with a refreshing aftertaste. But then...
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the AstraNox Invitational Day 6. I am your host, Kojo Creations, and joining me is my wonderful co-caster, Summation.
Hello everybody, you must have seen me yesterday. If you haven't, go watch it. It is quite some exciting matches back there.
Absolutely, yep. As the AstraNox Invitational, we are inviting players from all across the globe to compete online in the biggest stage ever in Genius Invocation TCG history, because we are crossing over not only every region in the global region, but also all of the players in CN. So it is really a treat to see every single one of these players converge and clash on the main stage.
Quite. What will we be seeing today, Kojo?
Today we will be seeing the final day of the Prince Regional Qualifiers. We have 2 games, and the first one up is going to be the losers bracket for TDN Magane and Dasha. So this is extremely important because there are 4 players remaining inside this bracket, and only 3 may move on into the knockout stage. So tonight we decide which one of those unfortunate players does have to go home.
Yes. Who do you have your eyes on for this one?
Honestly, I think TDN Magane's yesterday, which we'll definitely talk about more when we hit the bracket, had a very decisive 2-0 win. So, I mean, that's pretty massive, honestly. Having, like, you know, yesterday be an entire run of just 2-0 straight across is really something you don't expect to happen from the other people. But while we are waiting for the players to sort of get their decks locked in, we're going to do a quick reintroduction for anyone who hasn't seen it for the event. Why don't you take it away, Summation?
Right, first and foremost, this tournament is sponsored by ShiningSoul. We'd like to let all travelers and duelists know that the second set of the ShiningSoul Genshin Genius Invocation TCG card set is now officially on sale. You can purchase the brand new in-stock cards at the official Genshin Impact store or ShiningSoul official store on Taobao. Collect the Genius Invocation TCG cards, gather your friends, and let the duels begin. AstraNox Invitational is exclusively sponsored by ShiningSoul.
Yep, that's our word from our wonderful sponsors. And I mean, honestly, look at these cards, man. I am dying to get my hands on some of these bad boys. But with that out of the way, we of course are going to talk about the main event ourselves, and this is what we have here. So like I said, today is the final day of the Prince of Regional Qualifiers, and how this works basically is that for both the this is going to be the NA, EU, and AS region, and from here we will be pulling 16 of the players, and how they're picked out is based on their top scores from Prince Cup, Catsail's Gathering, etc. And then they will duel it out into only 3 players remaining, which again I talked about earlier. So today is that final day, so we will see who is going to advance to the knockout stage. This is also going to be repeated in the Chinese servers for the Fonta Regional Qualifier, except it is going to be 48 players, and 9 of them will be able to advance onto the elimination stage. And of course, the elimination stage itself is the 12 players who advance from preliminary stage will compete in double elimination format, best of 5, to find their final tournament placing. All the matches leading up, of course, like I just said, is a best of 5 conquest with bans this time, and the grand final is the grandest of all, the best you've ever seen, best of 7 conquest format. What are we thinking of that? That sounds like really spicy, eh?
Yes, indeed. We are going to see a lot more decks than in the Prince Regional stage or the Fonta Regional stage, which means we will get to see the true creativity, the true flagship of these players.
Yep, but that's just the future rules for the future stuff that's going to be happening in this tournament. However, for today, what set are we going to still be playing with, Summation?
Right, for today, we will be playing best of 3 conquests with alternative decks. Basically, players must submit 3 decks with 9 different character cards without repeats. This tournament is open decklist, so before each match, opponents will be able to see their opponent's decks and strategize around their plans accordingly. If a player wins, they can no longer use the deck for the remainders of the set. The losing players may use their previous deck until they are able to pull a win with that deck.
Yep, absolutely. Players, as usual, and how we usually run these tournaments is that they need to have a diverse pool of decks. However, no bans, so essentially all you need to do is make sure that you can confidently win with the 3 lineup, and if you don't, unfortunately, you will be sent home. Regardless, outside of that, we can quickly talk about our schedule for this tournament, and that being that, of course, like we've already mentioned, this is the last day of the Prince Regional Qualifier, so this is the last day we will be live. However, immediately after, in the next week, it is going to be the Fonta Regional Qualifier stage, which you can find on Bilibili. I can probably link that in the description if you guys want to check that out. We might also restream it, we'll see. Also, maybe on Arc's channel as well, so, you know, just keep your eyes peeled for that, but it's going to be all 48 of CN players players just duking it out, and that's going to be super duper awesome. And of course, the final is going to be June 9th, where we're going to start with the knockouts or elimination stage, where it's a full week of streaming CN, NA, EU, AS all coming together and duking it out. It's going to be a grand old time. But you know, these players are fighting so hard, Summation. What the heck are they actually going to get for making it through this grueling tournament?
What are they fighting for? Well, firstly, the 32nd to 25th placement players will receive 60 yuan, 24th to 17th place will get 90 yuan, 16th to 13th place will get 120 yuan, 12th to 9th get 160 yuan, 8th place and 7th place gets 320 yuan, 4th, 5th, and 6th place gets 640 yuan. The 3rd place gets 960 yuan. The 2nd place gets 1280 yuan. And finally, the grand champion will be taking home 3200 Chinese yuan.
Yeah, that certainly is a prize pool, but money is not all the players will be getting. Additionally, the 1st through 4th place will be getting everything that you can see on the screen here in varying quantities, of course, based on how they place. And anyone below 4th place will get something similar, but a lot less, so they might be missing some items here and there. But being able to collect these cards as your hard-earned and fought battles, you know, is pretty sick, I must say. I am just such a big fan of these cards, especially because they have some of my favorite characters. But without further ado, let's start moving on to our brackets and players. So yesterday, if we want to do a quick recap of what happened, unfortunately, the honored one, Kevin Z, has fallen in the losers bracket, and from there on, we also had TD and Magane take a very convincing 2-0. So now we're on our final 4 players. If you have a few more thoughts on that, Summation.
Yes, Kevin C's defeat is truly lamentable, though it is what it is. In the fight, results are everything after all. And our Kevin C, the honored one, seems a little bit out of it yesterday, judging from their reactions in chat. And Tadano Mekane, very convincing, a top player from the AP side, manages to defeat Dio in a very decisive 2-0 with no questions asked. There's quite literally no doubt about it. The match was hard fought and hard earned.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that we have to see players go from here, and only 3 of them can totally make it out in the bracket. But it is what it is, right? This is a tournament, and you can't have everyone take home the grand prize. So without further ado, let's start talking about the upcoming match: TD and Megane versus Daishoba.
Indeed. First, let's introduce Tadano Mekane again. He is the Busan WCG 2023 GITCG runner-up. He got 3rd at the Cat's Tail Gathering Season 1, and he really likes glasses.
Yep, that's a little bit of Discord server lore. If you don't know, Tadano Megane always has a glasses profile picture. That's actually how I usually see them as, so I was very surprised to see Amber up on the stage. But yeah, Tadano Megane, what is it? I've seen them compete in just so many community, and then of course, you know, the official tournaments themselves. So they have a pretty stacked record, I must say. Moving on though to Dasha.
Yes, Taobao though manages to one-up Tadano Mekane by being the Busan WCG 2023 GITCG World Champion, as well as the Spring Genius Invocation Tournament Champion, thus scoring him with a double golden card back from 2 regions.
Yep, very rare sight indeed. Being able to have multiple gold card backs is an achievement that I think very few Genshin players and in general TCG players can attest to even having. Could you imagine having multiple gold card backs on your account?
That is absolutely a flex if I've seen one.
Absolutely. But that is all the player profiles for now. The players are actually getting ready to select their decks, and they just have, so this just in, here is our first round.
Right, it is a Kachinavia mirror. Between Megane and Taobao. Honestly, I'm very much looking forward to this match because they, after all, they're both Busan WCG contestants, and
Mhm.
Megane has fallen to Dosha Bao before in that tournament.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a
And
rematch, huh?
yep, and the second time they fought right here is in this bracket where Megane once again lost to Dosha Bao during the winners bracket,
Mm.
thus pushing him down to the lowest bracket first.
Mm-hmm.
Dosha Bao after that is defeated by Inzhagi, and now they meet again down in the losers bracket.
Mhm.
One of them will take the ticket, and the other will go home.
Yep. It's very unfortunate to see that happen, but it is a rematch of rematches, so it's going to be super duper exciting to see what we can find in this matchup. Honestly, we'll start talking about the decks once we go into the match, because you've seen it before. We've seen a lot of these this time. Let's go ahead and hop right into what's going on in the game.
Yes, when it comes to a Kachinavia mirror, the most important aspect is your luck,
Mm-hmm.
quite literally, because your starting hand will decide which Kachina inches it out in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, because I was going to kind of reference and say that, what do you think of the Kachinavia mirror? Because the theory that makes sense to me is that simply whoever can get the most Geist generation in the first turn is the Kachina who comes out on top, even if you have a slightly different turn order, which we can already see Tadano Magane going in with a skill.
I do not subscribe to that because the round 1 line is almost exactly the same unless you're starting Kachina first for some reason. As you can see there, they are absolutely doing the same moves but with different cards. As such, Megane is actually super down with the card draw. Meanwhile, Dosha Bao manages to pressure Megane off the Kachina, and now has the opportunity to equip talent and go with Kachina and crystallizes Lini.
Yeah, really interesting that they decided to tank it out on Lini, because that is that free crystallize, and the last thing that you really want to deal with in these endgame matches, right, is dealing with Navia with multiple bullets, because that can literally win you around even if Navia is frozen, petrified, etc. It is a very rough position to be in. So already, I would argue that Dosha Bao is kind of taking the lead, no?
Yep, and after the switch to Lini here, the Turbo Twirly detaches, and that is another guaranteed crystallize. Also, due to the in-phase order, that means that Dosha Bao will have all of their auras cleansed.
Yep, so that is pretty huge, getting that aura cleanse for now. But it's definitely going to come back, because Lini is still relatively healthy. Well, okay, maybe not after that, but you know, he can come back. I think he'll be okay.
Yep, probably. I mean, if we see here, Megane is at 4 HP, so that means that Lini is either going to skill or be defeated this turn. Due to the opposing Lini's elemental skill dealing for pyro damage.
Yeah, absolutely. This is unfortunately where Lini most likely will fall. Maybe he can eke it out a little with healing, but honestly, it's not looking too hot for him.
Yeah, that dice is not looking good.
Oh, definitely not.
Yep. Alongside the hand luck, as we said earlier, another important aspect is the dice luck, because though Kachinavia doesn't actually demand that much dice, if you roll really bad, it could certainly cost you the game immediately.
Absolutely. I think it's in reference to that sort of skill line, right? Is that you need to minimum, you know, and how a lot of decks work, right? Is that you always need to skill in this sort of setup twice, because if you don't, losing pyro application or just the elemental application from the only character who can provide it, by the way, is going to be a massive detriment to your game plan. It's quite literally hinged on all of that.
Yep, Megane only has 3 shrapnels in the deck, while Dosha Bao has 6.
Oh boy. We are loading up our bullets here, my friends. Currently,
as you can see, Megane switches to Navia. I do not like that.
Yeah, I
though.
definitely don't. Navia is the key core of your deck, and now Dasha Bao responds in kind by moving over to Kachina. Oh, now it's a Kachina face-off.
Yep, Kachina face off. But Megane still has the twirly. Drops it in.
Nice, very nice.
Yep. Toshapao responds by playing Mao into Saurus Crackers,
Mm-hmm.
which means that the talent will use the technique will use one less dice. So that's even more usages for the Turbo Trolley.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's twirling time. Here she comes. There goes the two.
Indeed.
Ooh, and the Navia hit as well. That is not what you want to see because it does apply that adjacent piercing to the next character in line.
Yep. And Mechanic should really be wary of Toshapao's massive hand size with
Mhm.
9 cards in hand. That is going to hurt
Mm-hmm.
if you could utilize them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of where you have to have a little bit of a psych out moment. Do you believe, or well, how players have kind of taught me how to play is that you have to assume that the person kind of does have everything at any given time because that's the nature of the RNG and card draw. However, you know, it's also you got to take some sort of calculated risk here because you're basically neck and neck between each other with Kachina, and the ultimate goal is to just make one of them fall at least. That is what you have to do.
Yep, and Toshapao in this case will win out with the Kachina round 2
Yep.
due to having a superior dice and draw.
Mhm.
Kachina will the Kachina will be taking the win out of the exchange.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that, you know, or well, just how the game goes, really, right? Since they throw out so much damage, all the other characters are pretty much at risk in this position. For Tadano Magane to have both Linny knocked out, Kachina knocked out, and then potentially even Navia knocked out. No, because we can see, you know, from our perspective, right? We've got extra dice, we've got food, like you know, Dasha can really bring the heat in this position, but they're gonna relent, they're gonna hold it out.
Yep, the placer Chiiori decides to not defeat the Kachina right now. Perhaps they're waiting for the next round where they can go Elemental Burst and get out the Turbo Drill Field for even more damage.
Absolutely. Having one of those Geo Summons on field is super helpful and making sure you can get maximum value out of Kachina. You could also be waiting for a Gambler's Reset, which would be super nice because that was the only thing I noticed with Dashabao is that you don't really have that opportunity. And that opportunity is also not going to present itself once again.
Yep. Let's see here. Place a Mystic Soup due to Mao. That's gonna refund itself immediately. Gets the -2 damage effect.
Yeah, that's
now Toshabao has a million ways to defeat the Kachina. The problem is, do they do it?
Yeah, exactly. What is it? Because you gotta, what is it? I guess now that you have that damage reduction from the Mystic Soup, are you really worried about anything? Because, you know, Navia is the one that can jut out the most damage right now, in theory. And then Linny can also do 4 damage, but I believe Kachina survives in this position, no? 3 HP, 6 effective now with the Geo Res, and then also damage reduction on top of it. I feel like this Kachina is not going down anytime soon.
You're quite correct. Also, look at that lucky draw, like 4 shrapnels. I believe there was only 6 shrapnel in the entire deck. That's extremely lucky to get all of those off the top of the deck.
You know, that's a pretty crazy top deck. As Dashabao is getting a lot of things in their favor, and Tadano Magane is doing their best to survive with just 11 HP total on their characters.
Right here, Kachina Elemental Burst, putting Linny down to 2. And after this, Linny cannot, neither Linny nor Navia can really threaten Kachina right now.
Tadano Magane tries to strategize to fish anything useful out, but that definitely isn't it.
Yep, that's also a brick with the Abundant Phlogiston. It is well figuratively cooked for Megane right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I would argue I would say for Tadano Magane, I think the best line you could do would be maybe to drop out Linny Burst, but I guess you're trying to save him just to really meter out your HP. But even so, it's just a matter of time before Tadano Magane goes down.
This seems good, but the problem is Toshabao can just switch out of Kachina to avoid having her be defeated.
Yep. What is it? was gonna call it a handshake to Navia because you know both of them are the highest HP characters on your team, and they're both ready to duel it out. And also, in a way, avoiding that crystallize and KO is pretty nice because you want to prevent Dasha from getting that much more potential bullets inside their deck. Which I mean, they've already drawn so many. So, oh boy.
This is not looking good. You can't really tell how Dojabao manages to defeat Megane so thoroughly twice during previous matches in the tournaments. Yep.
Yeah.
Megane now plays Chiiori on Navia and goes back to Lini. This is to not have Navia simply do a normal attack to get rid of Lini, but having to spend the elemental skill. So Dojabao would have to waste off those crystal shrapnels.
Yep, absolutely. A good way to drain the resources from Dasha. What is it? And also, what is it? It's just a good position to be in because from here, yep, there it goes. Lini is no longer alive, but all that crystal shrapnel goes away. But then Navia draws the talent. Oh my goodness.
The talent is fine. I'm just kind of sad about the two gamblers' earrings that came by way too late.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, you can see Dasha throws them in the garbage can, puts on the talent for the finisher, or well, not quite. We're gonna do 3 damage and draws 2 bullets. Okay, all right.
Yep. And now it's Megane's turn to equip the gambler's earrings because there's still a lot of game to play for Megane. Right, we go into round 4, and the dice luck is still not working out that much for Megane. Only 3 usable on Navia. That is going to be rough.
Yeah, that's not great. It's a rough game 1. We already talked about it, that this is going to be dictated by who gets the better start, and what is it? Sort of Dashabao got their lead and just went straight running with it, eh?
Yep. Though thankfully, Dojabao is most likely out of shrapnels in deck. Ditches all those, draws 2. And now, talent effect, draws nothing.
Darn.
As expected. Because there's no more Lini's aura.
Yep.
However, I do not believe that matters.
Yep.
In this case.
Navia is going to fire off her cannons as a last-ditch effort. Skill is not enough to KO on Tadano Megane's side. And here comes the finisher. Burst respawn in kind. Dashabao takes game 1. Oh boy. What is it? Definitely a rough start, huh?
Yep, that's certainly a rough start for Megane. Unable to inch out the victory in the Kachinavia mirror. But fortunately, that means that Kachinavia is still on the option to face off against one of the other decks. It's either Gokomi Zhongli Wheelshare or Hu Tao Rightful Reward.
Yep, and we did see, if I'm not mistaken, Hu Tao, Rightful Reward, or Hunt Tao. Well, just kind of Hunt Tao. It's been mutated over time ever since Treasure has received its changes. However, you know, it actually was able to do a lot of work against Kevin Z the other day. I was very surprised, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's a better deck than I thought going into this format because everyone else is playing just something so different, right?
Yeah, it's certainly something to start with.
Yeah, but that was our first MU for the first round. There are still at least 1 more to go. Hopefully Tadano Megane can pull it through. You know what's actually interesting, at least for my side of things, I have not gotten a chance to see anyone play Aramite, Sejuine, and Chlorinde specifically in this tournament. I've actually gotten to cast it over at our main Discord for GITCG, and seeing the person pilot it, it was impressive. I'm just like, this deck, absolute cinema. I love the idea.
Yep. Speaking of decks with cinema, we should check out the players who have submitted their Game 2 decks.
Indeed. We're going to be pulling those up on the board right about now once they've confirmed. And yep, let's take a look at that. Tadano Megane picks the Chiiori Kokomi Zhongli.
Or I guess if Mechanic loses this, we might not be seeing the Eremite deck.
Yep.
Or perhaps we will not see it at all if Mechanic goes for Kachinavia again on game 3.
Yep, absolutely. Indeed. However, on the side of Dasha, we have, as you suspected, a kooky, venti, a Hu Tao, baby. I'm sure all the Hu Tao fans in the chat are very excited because let me tell you, I meet so many people when it comes to the TCG. They're like, is Hu Tao good? She has to be good, right? And I'm like, well, but I would argue that she's definitely doing all right these days.
Yep, she's been doing alright ever since Rightful Reward came out, but after all the healing changes, she's definitely gotten way better at it now. And that plus 2 HP on Hu Tao, chef's kiss.
Absolutely. You really are shocked by how much at least adding 2 HP to a character ends up changing a bunch of stuff. But let's go ahead and take a look at their decks while the players are preparing to go. So we've seen this one before, but of course we can just go and do a recover. This is Chiiori, Kokomi, Zhongli, the Rain of Stone, as I call it, core being Chiiori and Zhongli. By combining their abilities and Zhongli's talent, they can throw out a 10 damage end phase, which is just so difficult to fight against. And specifically, this is the Kokomi variant, which I peg as the one for a little bit of extra sustain. Kokomi is another higher HP character. She was added to 12 HP, and then of course she also provides healing for the team, so you can keep Zhongli nice and ready above that 7 HP threshold that you need to maintain, so you can keep bringing the assault.
Yep, some special cards used to play this deck uniquely here is Yamkosaurus and Surfing and Soaring Surfing Buddies for some off chance summon damage outside of the end phase, as well as Hot Sprinkle Clock is a pretty core component of the deck, being able to heal 4 HP with all 4 summons available.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a big fan of Hot Springs of Clock, and you know what's interesting though is that Yoinkosaurus, honestly, it's a really big deal when you're fighting a mirror match, but in this aspect, I actually would argue it's not going to be too helpful. There aren't too many high cost cards inside this deck, yes?
Perhaps we'll have to see. On the other end, we have Taobao, who's playing Rightful Reward Hu Tao with a very special 1 copy of Emblem of Severed Fate.
Yep. What is it? We saw they were trying to fish for it in previous rounds, and said previous round is actually going to be happening right now. As in, they have immediately jumped into the match. These players are locked and loaded, ready to go. So let's take a look at what they're rolling right now.
Yep, let's see it. It's a typical start with a Cookie start for Rightful Hu Tao and Zhongli start for Megane. Managing to draw the Zhongli talent immediately, and places Super Rival Class probably going to Arcane for the Chiiori talent so that the Rain of Stone can be activated next round.
Yep, and I want to dive really quick into the specifics for anyone who hasn't gotten a chance to see this core. So basically what Chiiori does is that she summons a lot of her own geo summons with varying effects. There are 5 different ones, and then with her talent she can summon more of them, and then she just basically fills the entire field with summons. That's great. However, Zhongli for the longest time has had a talent card where if he stays above 7 HP, he will make your geo summons deal more damage. Now that has always been very difficult to proc because he was 10 HP, but now that he's 12 HP, it is way harder to push Zhongli below that threshold because he also generates shield points for himself, so he's effectively a 14 HP tank.
Yep. Historically, Zhongli talent has not been a good option for many reasons, one of which is that all the characters that do summon geo summons are just bad.
Absolutely. You could even throw the Rift Hound in there and it wouldn't save you.
Yep. But after the arrival of Chiiori, Zhongli started to have a lot of use with his talent because Chiiori has so many summons at one time.
Yep, absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Yep. Looking at Tedano Megane's hand, there's likely not a chance they will be able to activate the Rain of Stone this turn because their dice are pretty bad. However, on the side of Taobao, they have been doing the food that satiates everyone, and then you get 2 free swaps and also draw. So they're just getting ready for the inevitable of what's come.
Yep. Right here, Taobao switches to Wendy, applies the Electro application. Taobao knows that Mechanic cannot cleanse because the last card is a Chiiori talent. Like I said, it's open deck list. They know what each other's decks are. So he knows for sure that last card cannot be tuned.
Yep, absolutely. And that is a real shame. Having to waste 3 dice on the first turn is definitely not a good sign of things to come. You know, of course, it's like you really want to tune that Chiiori talent so you can cleanse and stop Venti from producing his game plan, which is to swirl Electro and continue getting lots of value on top of, you know, what these 2 characters are able to accomplish. But you just can't throw it away. If you only run 1, there's no tossing it out. You're going to lose your entire game plan instead.
Well, the Mechanic has the chance to dodge the Electro application by simply cleansing it on the next turn.
Yep.
And Taobao uses Timaeus to equip Marichose's Hunter, and now decides to switch to Hu Tao and ping that Kokomi a little.
Yep, and personally, that makes a ton of sense. Hu Tao either has the chance to skill because there's no attacks coming her way, so that's something she can maintain for a Pyro Infusion. And of course, if for whatever reason Tedano Megane doesn't move, then you can just slap Kokomi with Electro and then push him onto Zhongli. All right, here it goes. Tomato has been summoned. Our expert summonation wouldn't know which one's which.
I believe that is simply the one that gives Chiiori and your Tamotos +1 geo damage.
Yep. I'm so impressed because you're a person who catalogs all the cards for the community that you're actually able to distinguish the difference between them, because of course I know all the effects, but like I could never for the life of me tell you it's like, which doll is this? I don't know, man.
Yep, the doll with the eye closed and the light background is the one with +1 geo damage. If it's a darker background, it's the regular Tamoto with no extra effects.
Yeah. It would be really nice if they had some symbols on there, but to each their own. That's why we have you, to expertly figure out which is which. And there goes Tedano Megane's turn. Not a lot happened, and Hu Tao's going in already.
Yeah. Hu Tao with 6 dice remaining decides to go in with all the buffs and manages to trigger a little sneaky dot over there.
Yeah, absolutely. The Blood Blossom mechanic that people tend to forget about on top of Hu Tao, but it is a very deadly mechanic if you are able to proc it. But unfortunately, takes it back from her boss. The Rain of Stone comes down, and Hu Tao is now only at half HP.
Yep. Fortunately, Hu Tao being at half HP is not much of a trouble. Not much trouble for her, because she's burst ready now.
Yep, absolutely. This is probably the most threatening thing of the deck, if you could explain a little bit, with the combination of Red Forward, which you don't have on field yet, if I'm not mistaken. But Hu Tao's burst is pretty devastating, and then once you combine it with the Polearm...
Yep, Rightful Reward gives you energy after you heal or damage the character, equipping it for some time. And with some choice effects, such as Rainbow Macarons, Marichose's Hunter, maybe some Maiden Beloved, and you can really heal Hu Tao a lot. Meanwhile, your opponent will also want to have her off the field as much as possible, which is why they might attack into her, but that fills up her energy even further. And her burst also heals.
Yep, absolutely. So Hu Tao not only will be able to recover all that HP lost in the previous slam, but also, deal massive damage. I believe in this position, is it enough to KO Chiiori? Because she's also below the HP threshold, yes?
Yeah, it's probably most definitely enough. Give me a moment.
No problem. I think the biggest thing here that I want to point out in the matchup is that I gotta take a quick look at the deck list again. Yeah, no, there's what is it? But there's only one fast swap in Tedano Magane's deck, and I think that's a little bit of a call out on Dashaba's side, is that they know only 3 things inside Tedano Magane's hands. There's no way one of those is a fast swap, and they've really locked them into position to lose Chiiori, which is a really big detriment to this deck. You will no longer be able to continue the Reign of Stone on your side.
However, Hot Spring O'Clock comes in and now heals Chiiori for +4.
Yep.
Apparently it's +1 and then +1 for some summons.
Yep. There's always that
Good
base
to know.
+1 to make sure Hot Springs O'Clock is at least comparable to a, chicken. But, we do have the summons on field, so we can heal up a ton. And now Chiiori, it looks like basically nothing happened to her. And now we got more dolls on the field. The Reign of Stone won't actually occur because Zhongli's Pillar has expired, right? Or is it to continue regardless?
It will continue,
Yes.
actually.
That's right. All it needs is Zhongli above 7 HP and being present.
Yep. Only the damage dealt by Zhongli and the geo damage from your summons. However, as long as the talent stays on Zhongli, this effect is always active.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he just needs to survive, just like how he plays in game. He could probably stand still and then all will fall before him.
Quite. And that's why you just simply go to Zhongli first and then use the 5-cost skill and then skedaddle off him. So
Pretty much.
To go to Chiiori and stuff.
Yep, he will
Plus,
leave.
his throws over.
Yep.
He does one thing.
It's just
and then
like
he
the
goes to
Archon
sit.
quest. Here, I will leave it in the hands of the people of Liyue. Except in this case, it's the people of Inazuma, but don't worry about that.
Yep. Here goes Hu Tao.
Yep.
5 damage plus 1 from Papilla.
Pretty big burst. Honestly, not too worried about it because obviously it didn't KO. It's just to make sure Chiiori can be chunked down a little bit and KO'd sooner. But right now, I think we're in a little bit of a stalemate. No, Tedano Magane, I would say, has a pretty strong setup overall. Really could use some draw, possibly using that food in the coming toward or going for a cleanse. But then on the side of Dasha, again, not much has happened. Hu Tao lost some HP here and there, but has no other equips besides an artifact. So really, you're kind of just in a holding pattern until you can get a little bit more of an advantage on your field.
Quite. Megane, notably, has absolutely no supports.
Yep.
While Dojabao has absolutely no summons.
Yep.
It is like they're playing on those opposite ends of the board.
Yep, pretty much. If anyone decided to tech in controlled directional blast into this tournament, that would be hilarious. But people will not be doing that because we could just see all the summons explode, which would be very bad for Tenon and Megane. But that is not the game we're playing today.
Yep, I believe saw a controlled directional blast yesterday, but unfortunately, the person piloting it already left.
Oh, darn. Unfortunate. So at least someone thought of it. That's the important part.
Yep, someone thought of it. Someone did.
Listen,
unfortunately, it did not matter.
The real secret is that you need to run Lament.
Honestly, I'm not sure if that matters as much, but
oh, it definitely wouldn't.
Yep.
Makes good use of Zhudong to throw in Matsutake meat rolls on top of Venti, keeping nice and healthy. But they just ended their turn, and I believe Venti is dead, no? He might be live on 1, right? Just 1.
Yeah, not necessarily. I think he lives on 1.
Yep, if you want to do a little bit of the math on screen for folks at home, Jellyfish does 1, and then the first doll, I believe, is doing 3 because we have the boosters, so that's going to be 4 on a Crystallize. Oh yeah, and then we also get the heal. That's right, because Venti also does have the HP increase. But here we go, 1, and then there's 4.
And 4, and 2. And 2.
All right, perfect breakpoint calculation, really showing the mastery on Dasha outside. I have to say, I'm just impressed. Like, what is it? It may not seem like too many things are happening on screen, but these players really are perfectly calced out with their breakpoints to ensure that their characters are not falling to anything, despite these decks both dealing, I'd say, pretty good damage overall.
Neither of them are falling. That's for sure.
Yep. But resources
So that might
will
change. Yep.
Is it resources will eventually run out on the side of Tenno Megane. There's only a Mystique Soup to potentially give you
Oh,
healing or damage reduction. Ooh,
CDB.
no way,
CDB.
it's in there. Ah.
Oh, that's going to be devastating.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had not actually checked into that properly because I only saw half of the deck list. What is it? When I'm looking over, I'm like, they didn't bring it right. Never mind. Here comes controlled
Never
directional
mind.
blast. Oh no.
I only saw Underwater Treasure Hunt at a glance, and I was like, yeah, of course, because it's Hu Tao. I did not see that CDB. But damn.
Oh my. That's it. This is gonna be real scary, and I think Dasha knows it. They're just like, yeah, it's coming, buddy. Get ready.
Taobao might be waiting for Megane to do Chiiori summon again, and then blast it.
Yep, absolutely.
Blast it all.
Yep. If you don't mind reviewing for the viewers at home how controlled directional blast actually works.
Yep. When you have a certain amount of summons and supports on your side, and the opponent's side, you can play Control Directional Blast to reduce the usage of all summons by 1.
Yep, and that's going to be knocking out only one summon, but that's still going to decrease the overall time for Rain of Stone. And I do wonder, actually, maybe the line is Dasha goes for Kuki Elemental Skill. Yeah, because they're tuning right now to do that. And then they're going to kind of just move around and kind of try to push them off of the relevant characters and then just let her rip at the end phase.
Oh yeah, I had to go review it for a second. It had to be 4 total supports or summons on the opponent's side.
Yep.
So now with 4 summons, CDB is online.
Yep. Absolutely. Unlike Guardian's Oath or Lament, where you can just play it regardless, but that costs 4 aligned dice. Way too expensive. Never tech this into your deck. But this one has some conditions, but finally, now that we're back in the summon and support meta, we can do some blasting.
Yep. It's time to get blasting. Speaking of blasting, it's Megane's turn and Chiiori is burst ready.
Yep. I believe, what is it? Let's see. Because we have a Geo damage boost now. And then also, hey, Chiiori's burst. So is this going to KO Kuki? I think it might.
It will.
Yeah.
Chiiori does 5 damage at base.
Yeah.
But it does take away 1 proc of the Rain of Stone from the Automaton doll.
Yeah. All right, Mystique Soup. What are we fishing for? We're fishing for some damage reduction, probably, or healing. Yeah, because
I would personally fish for the got the healing effect.
What were you gonna
I would
personally
personally
fish
fish for dice discount.
Oh, absolutely. Dice discount would be pretty huge, but there it goes. It knocks out Kuki. Hu Tao and the status respond in kind. Knocks her back over to Kokomi. And now we're kind of back to square one here.
Yeah, but the cookie dodge actually matters. The cookie overload actually matters a lot for Megane because now Chiiori is safely in the back row and CB comes out.
Yep, there it goes. One automaton deleted, 3 more to go. Hu Tao's gonna start racking up that damage, and I think in this position actually nothing else happens yet. No healing available, so Hu Tao's just gonna have to eat it.
Yeah, but now the Rain of Stone is completely offline. Megane has to go back and make all of those summons again.
Yep,
that is going to be a lot of dice.
Yep, and we can already see that we've drained a good amount of resources already on Tenno Megane's side. We've seen a Mystique Soup, we've seen a Hot Springs O'Clock come out, so there is very little healing left in Tenno Megane's deck outside of having the duplicates. So they're gonna have to think of something quick before Dasha just flattens them with Hu Tao.
Quite. Yeah, the Chiiori deck is finally on the back foot. Oh
no!
Fine. He has another one.
Yep.
He has another one.
Potentially a very precarious situation for Dasha because the Liban ended up proccing in the end phase because Hu Tao took damage and gained that dice with the Marishose Hunter, yes, or the Veteran's Visage. Fed into Liban, gave extra card draw, and burned a rightful reward, which is literally essential to your game plan. So if you didn't have that, oh no.
thankfully, Dojabao managed to draw another one before he burned that one.
Mm-hmm.
If he burned both, that would have been absolutely devastating.
Absolutely. In a way, the game kind of still looks winning for Tenon and Megane because they just need to sustain themselves up. Because in the HP department, they're absolutely winning. Of course, Dasha does have tons of healing and, of course, a Hu Tao very close to being locked and loaded to another burst. But it's going to be very difficult to kind of play the fencing game, as I call it, with only 2 characters.
Yeah, but right now I'm considering an option that's absolutely absurd to anyone, probably
Ooh.
including the duelists.
What would that be?
Kokomi Burst.
I actually, well, I mean, I don't think Kokomi Burst is that bad. You know, you get an AoE heal across the board, and then you have Kokomi able to actually put up a relative form of threat and sustain. But it looks like Tenon Megane is dead set on moving towards Chiiori, although I believe, ooh, what's happening here? It's a swirl, right?
Quick swap.
Yep.
Yep, that's a swirl.
Yep,
Right, switches
Chiiori,
off.
yeah, not able to be KO'd just yet, but this will be pretty devastating. Kokomi is going to take a pretty big hit, and then of course Electro will be applied to the rest of the characters, because I think that's a pretty good angle, right? You want to give Hu Tao as much as you can before Venti is forced to fall soon.
Quite. The fact that Wendy is out right now and all the Sudong and Mao engines.
Wait, Mystique Soup Gamble, did they get Fury?
No,
Oh no.
That's not Fury, that's the skill discount.
All right. Could you imagine though? That would have been crazy.
Quite, that would have been actually crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Dojabao made that decision on purpose because I have not seen Fury in the tournament in Chinese yet.
Yep. Most likely, what is it? It was probably intentional, right? I'm sure if a player saw Fury, they would snipe it immediately, knock out Chiiori. But for now, she's gonna get to resummon her dolls, but on super critical HP, I believe. Yeah, because now the turn flips over. It is going to be Chiori's last. Venti simply just needs to throw an arrow into the knee.
Yep. Or perhaps Dojabao won't. It depends. Let's see. I mean, you can also just go Hu Tao or something. Yeah, but defeating Chiiori here is probably actually crucial. Even ignoring the fact that Megane now has 0 usable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really. I mean, I guess because this is just kind of how the deck works, right? On Tenon Megane's side, but like, there's just not a lot of draw, or dice fixing in this deck because I guess. Well, is there dice fixing? Let me see here. What is it? There's opera and that's kind of it, but in general, what is it? You're gonna have to tune most of your stuff. Yeah, they even were forced to use a food there just to draw a little more, so more sustain on the board, but still, 6 dice. That's scary.
Manages to obtain a Hot Spring O'Clock, so that's some emergency healing if you need it.
Yep.
However, here comes back Hu Tao.
Yep.
That's gonna be not. Oh, charges the Papilio and hits. Plus 2 HP to Hu Tao.
Yeah,
draws 1 card due to Marishal's Hunter, and that's a quick swap.
Look at that Venti value. Used all of his charges to make sure you can flip-flop between the 2 characters in the fencing game, and then boom, takes the damage for Hu Tao. Hu Tao, the director, versus her employee Zhongli. It's gonna be a fight.
It's gonna be a fight indeed. And Venti, who's taking full advantage of that maiden beloved on the artifact. I do not actually remember the full name because there's no big maiden beloved yet.
I just call it Maiden's Beloved. What is it? If not, it's the cool pink hat that nobody farms for, unless your name is Benzu. Instead, you're farming for Verdescent Venereer.
Ha. Quite.
Here. So in this position, I believe it's just like I said, and to be clear, what I call the fencing game. The fencing game is basically when your characters are trying to take advantage of swapping, that you're kind of spreading the damage out between them and trying to make your opponent waste resources on like the non-important characters of the sorts. So now Tenon Megane, of course, is in the solo hyper carry with Zhongli being the last one on field, but then on the side, of Dasha, you know, they have some options to kind of mess around with their opponent before inevitably Venti will fall to the other Archon.
I wonder what Mechanic can do to take the upper hand in this, because in general, I do not see Zhongli defeating Hu Tao.
Yeah, most definitely not. Zhongli, you know, there is a Storm Terror's lair, but that is coming, you know, kind of way too late, right? Because you could decrease the 5-cost skill from Zhongli, which is, you know, the one that you want to use, but outside of that, there's not really much you can do.
Yep, place the Mystic Soup takes -1 damage 3 times. That's gonna come in handy when facing Hu Tao, who has the full Sudong and double Mao ready.
Let's do a little check in here. What's giving Zhongli the cost reduction on their Geo skills? Is that a Chiiori doll? Okay, because I don't think it's Chiiori. I'm pretty sure it's not Chiiori.
It's Golden Source Reward, I believe.
He's been stacking up GT. What is it? He hasn't been on the field so long. I didn't even know he had it.
I had to guess based on the effect description myself.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense though. What is it? Here we go. What is it? 11 plus 5 and damage reduction. So Zhongli's sitting at 16 effective with the damage reduction versus a 10 HP Hu Tao. Here comes the Adeptus though.
Yep. Is Hu Tao going to switch to Emblem? That's gonna be more damage.
Yep, absolutely. Gonna try and get treasure value first before we get there.
Yep. Nope. Does not decide to go for the Emblem. Probably because it's not actually enough to defeat the Zhongli.
Yep. Oh, now see, you just triggered a core memory, as Sumi calls it, the forbidden Adeptus inside that Emblem of Severed Fate.
Yep, it is the Forbidden Adeptus indeed.
Yep.
Most people do not play Emblem of Severed Fate because its use cases are not actually that useful. Regardless, I would have probably played it here due to how you can probably like finish off Zhongli right now if you had.
Does the math work out for that in terms of dice? Because I'm kind of wondering if I think they're probably just erring on the safe side, right? Because right now I think Zhongli, he's also has the Blood Blossom active on his side, so he's going to take that 1 extra damage in the end phase, and I believe Hu Tao, of course, has 1 more normal attack in stock, so that's all she needs.
Tunes away. On Spring O'Clock. Tunes 3, 4. Planet Befall.
Yeah. That must have been what they were waiting for, yeah? There we got treasure to sustain Hu Tao a little bit.
Yep. And now it's Mechanic's turn to see what to do.
Yep.
And we'll have to see if the Rain of Stone does not trigger.
Nope.
That is because Zhongli is below 7 HP. So all the summons lose their +1 damage effect.
Yep, absolutely.
And does absolutely nothing to that Hu Tao.
Yep. Lickety split, very good, you know, kind of like game knowledge for Dasha to recognize Zhongli cannot KO them in the end phase, and there they go. Takes the game with Hu Tao normal attack. Oh my goodness, that is a 2-0 victory. Really unexpected for this to happen, right? Yesterday we saw Tadano Magane take a very decisive 2-0 victory, and now it is going the opposite direction, ain't it?
Yeah, between their personal field, it is now 3-0 in favor of Dojabao.
Ooh, what is it? If we ever had a system like other games where it will show you how much history you have between the players, that would be the symbol popping up on the screen right now. But there it is, 0-2. Congratulations to Dasha for winning the game, and of course this is the loser bracket, so unfortunately Tadano Magane does have to go home.
Yep. And Dojabao will take their first place on the losers bracket elimination stage.
Yep, absolutely. What is it? What do you think of that match, man? What is it? The Kachinavia was definitely there, but I'm really seeing the strength of this Kuki Venti Hu Tao deck, huh?
Yeah, right. 41 Hu Tao has always been quite the menace. Ever since Hu Tao was a thing. It's just that people temporarily forgot about that due to how a lot of things can KO Hu Tao before she gets into that big scary loop with the rightful reward and rainbow macarons and stuff.
Absolutely.
And yeah, as you can see that Hu Tao was actually like almost completely out of resources by the end of the game, but the 12 HP and many other factors clinched through, and it ended up as a victory for Taobao in the end.
Yep. So yeah, once again, congratulations to Dasha. I'm gonna check in on something while we're hanging out here, but we have a pretty crazy match coming up next, right? It is gonna be Inzhagi versus Air. So, you know, quite literally, two absolute titans of the Asia region, and of course Inzhagi, who has had some of the most impressive Prince Cup performances out there. So it's gonna be pretty exciting for what we're gonna see next. Yes.
Yes. Now that you say it, I believe that all four of the duelists today are all from the Asia region.
Yep. Asia was able to have the rest of their players come out on top. Of course, no discredit to the other regions, but it's probably I mean, as someone who is in the Asia region, right, Summation, it's just you have a lot more players too.
Indeed, there's the general Asia tournaments, there's the Japan tournaments, there's the Korea tournaments. In general, there's a lot of portfolio for the organizers to look out for when recruiting players, so to speak.
Yep, absolutely. But that is going to be all for that first round of the tournament. But of course, don't go away. We do have Inzhagi and Air next up, but we're going to be taking a 10-minute break to sort of just chill out. So go ahead, grab some snacks, grab some water, and we'll be seeing you in just a moment.
当群星低语，当夜幕垂落，命运的轮盘已悄然转动。八面灵头折射智慧锋芒，牌中事件在掌心翻动。盾与矛在星河下碰撞，元素交织成战略的罗网。这里没有注定的败者，唯有将星辰轨迹铭刻于卡背的译者。准备好掷出命运的骰子了吗？
Good morning. Don't be fooled. I'm not a morning person, but I have to get to the clinic to feed the critters or they'll start making a real racket. All set for your next trip? You know where you're going. Feeling okay? Got everything you need? Oh, actually, wait. There's just one last thing I want to check first.
No way, bro!
Here's to a safe journey.
Hit me up, bro!
Let's go.
Oh dear! Oh dear!
Come on, buddy. Easy now, Kakuku.
Hold tight, bro!
There's always going to be those moments where you have to say goodbye, but nothing's ever made me regret my choice. Animals are a lot like kids. They're the future, and I'll always protect them. I'm a medic, not a warrior. I leave my guns holstered unless I absolutely need them. Come here, you little rascal! If you ever need a hand with anything, don't be shy. Hit me up anytime.
Hit me up, bro!
When you create a new dish, all the ingredients have to work in harmony, like cogs in a machine. Oh, here's a better analogy. It's like composing a symphony from musical notes.
Sweet and sour with a refreshing aftertaste. But then...
How about a gastronomic symphony?
本当にいいの？このまま始めて。いいの。
これぞリアリティよ。どこのポートで取ってきたポータフートリップ？発酵ジュースの海？全国の発酵ジュースに謝りなさい。
発酵ジュースごめんなさい。
ちょっとヒルチャールの盾よりも硬いじゃない。またフライヤーをほったらかしにしてたわね。あなたは一体何様なの？
俺はトリアタオのフライドフィッシュです。
サバナ、なぜこんな生地に？フリュイロータス入りだなんて花と実が大雨に降られたみたい。
失敗しすぎて丸ごとそう使い切ってしまって、それしかなかったの。
まあまるっきりダメってわけじゃないわ。水分が多いから他のお花や果実の香りが薄れちゃうのよ。かといって乾かすと食感が台無しになる。だから遠心機で旨味を抽出して生成すれば。新鮮でまるで雨上がりの虹のよう。草や湖が見えるみたい。フリュイロータスの風味が完全に溶け合ってて ピを完成させなきゃ。今日の授業はここまで。
やっと。
明日はこのデザートを再現してみましょう。たったの43工程。簡単よね。どう？フォンテーヌグルメ編のイントロとしては悪くないでしょ？
リアリティは置いといて、確かに印象深いわね。ただエスコフィエさんが主演なのはいいけど、途中までが少し強烈すぎるんじゃない？いくら盛り上げるためとはいえ。
こんなの普段の半分の半分もいかないわよ。誰か悪口でも言った？ウィンドブルーム祭の本番がもうすぐ始まるぞ。早く見に行こうぜ。
どう？よかったでしょ？
旅人いらっしゃい。シバルマラン AA ランドファミリーに加わる準備はできた？グルメ系 AA に出てくるみたいな超豪華なご飯も欲しいぜ。
両選手、準備ができたようですね。それではホテル・ドゥボール特別料理対決開始。
カトラリーの準備も完了。冷凍の時間よ。最高の一品よ。
とにかくそこのレストランからナタ産の野菜を至急調達したいと依頼を受けて、僕とイファが来ることになったんだ。俺は付き添いでな。
Alright, welcome back everyone to AstraNox Invitational. I'm your co-host Summation, and here with Kojo Creations.
Yep, my friends, we're back for another set of duels. As we previously saw, Dasha was able to pull out a 2-0 victory versus Terano Magane, which means Terano Magane is unfortunately out of the tournament, and that is the completion of the losers bracket. So that means Dasha will be moving on into the knockout stage 2 weeks away from now. But we have one more match to decide, not necessarily who goes home, but who gets to maintain an extra life moving into the knockout stage.
You're quite right, Kojo Creations. Right, the next match will be in the winners bracket between Air and Inzhagi. Alright, for those of you who have not caught up on AstraNox Invitational, Kojo, why don't you tell them what's what?
Of course. So AstraNox Invitational, first and foremost, is sponsored by ShiningSoul. We'd like to let all travelers and duelists know that the second set of the Genius Invocation TCG cards is now officially on sale. You can purchase the brand new in-stock cards for official Genshin Impact stores or the ShiningSoul store on Taobao. What is it? Collect the Genius Invocation TCG cards, gather your friends, and let the duels begin. AstraNox Invitational is exclusively sponsored by ShiningSoul.
Ooh, those are some nice merchants, if I do say so myself. Regardless, once again, this is Air versus Inzhagi, and this format will be doing best of 3 conquests, alternative decks.
Yep, absolutely. So you can only have 9 characters, and everyone needs to be different, and only 3 decks total. And of course, if you win on one, you can no longer play it, and then otherwise you can try and play it again, and hopefully you'll be able to squeeze out victory. But once you play it and you win, it's done. So with that, I am actually going to be bowing out right now, and we are going to have our wonderful caster Sumi take over in just a moment. All right, and we're all set to go. So I'll see you guys later, and I hope you all enjoy the match of Air versus Inzhagi.
Right, thank you for your service, Gojo Creations. And we're now here with another caster, Sumi. Say hello.
Hello everybody, chat. It's great to be back. I'm sorry for the delay. Sleep debt is one hell of a thing. So Summation, how was our first game of the day? Was it another 2-0 sweep or was it a back and forth brawl?
It was a 2-0 sweep, my friend, though I would not say it is a curb stomp by any means. Both players did their best, and it has resulted in some exciting showdowns.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it. Hey, whenever Kachina's on board, I'm always expecting some Torlin to go down. I saw some of the decks pop up earlier. And, well, with how fast the current meta is, it's not very surprising that players are kind of able to sweep up games before they even realize.
Yep, it is certainly something seeing that little girls throw around all over the arena. It was a twirling contest between the two Kachina decks, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, the linear Kachina deck seems to be like the most popular deck we've seen so far. Most of the players currently at the end stages of the elimination bracket have brought it. Both Taobao and TTM Megane have brought it in their decks as well. We'll need to see if Air and Inzhagi have them as well.
Right. Speaking of, let us introduce the players then.
Who do we have up first? Ooh, it's Air.
Yep. Air is the player who has ranked first in GITCG rating Season 5 and is the version 4.5 GITCG Asia Major Champion.
I cannot read those characters. Placed first and second at the... Not sure what that says, championships. Do you know what that says, Summation?
It's first and second at some... It's the word for king, thing, and then cup. So maybe king cup. Let's call it king cup. Invocation king cup.
Until we get a better translation, Air is the first and second place champion of the King's Cup.
Yep. Air is aiming to leave a mark, though he likely does not realize that he has already left a mark in many people's hearts.
Oh, what's a smooth line?
He has certainly made his debut and consistently scored high on various GITCG tournaments.
Yeah, has certainly made a mark in this tournament too. His opponent though is Inzhagi, by no means an easy opponent. This player is the Prince Cup Pacific champion, as well as the Prince Cup Southeast Asia, Macau, Hong Kong, Taiwan champion from the year before that, and also placed first place in 3 Cat's Tail gatherings. And it's, as we all know, Inzhagi is the protagonist. When things are looking bad, he's always able to pull out the comeback. Somehow, some way.
He also really loves to play his own decks, the decks that he has crafted with his own hands, and we might be able to see that in the elimination stage.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind that Air is an aggro lover, so I do expect to see Kachina from them, as Kachina is probably one of the faster decks in the current battle, just how much damage she's able to pump out. But Inzhagi could do something spicy.
Indeed. In the Prince Cup C champion in 2 years back, Inzhagi manages to beat out the final match using Child and Yoimiya, I believe.
Yeah, that was absolutely one of the moments.
Yep. Right. Let us go and review how the matchups are going to be. The players have already submitted their decks. This match, due to the time zone gap, is pre-recorded, so we'll be seeing their matches in succession. The first match will be Kokomi Zhongli versus Hero Zhongli.
Yeah, two very similar yet different deck archetypes. We saw the Kokomi version pop up yesterday, and I think it was game 1 versus Heavenzy and Taobao, or was it game 2? I can't quite remember. We did see it yesterday. We saw like how like if you get the correct combo off on Chiiori, you just do 10 damage end phase. It was brutal to watch. I think Kevin Z's characters kind of got brutalized there. And the other version with the Herald is more focused on slowing your opponent down. Which one will come out on top, though, remains a different story. Running the one-off Zhongli and and Chiiori talents, going with the double Storm Terror's Lair as well as the Stove God to just guarantee you pull those very, very strong cards just as soon as possible. The curious thing here is that Air is running 2 copies of that Yumkasaurus, being able to steal cards from your opponent's hand, just yoinking it right out of there.
Yep, we also see that in an earlier match, and it has in fact not come up yet. The Yumkasaurus has not seen play.
Well, someone who's not running Yumkasaurus is Inzhagi, choosing to replace that with a 2-cost Golden Troop reward, as well as a... forgot the name of that, a Moon Piercer, there we go. The rest of these decks, though, are quite similar, except for the Chef Mao. I believe that Air was either running no copies or 2 copies. Not quite sure.
Right,
I think it was 2 copies. Oh, the Phophonius Library as well.
Oh yeah, the Fav Library. Probably to try to fix the dice luck. That kinda comes out bad due to being a protagonist. But also, that Moon Piercer is certainly interesting, to say the least.
Angling more for the Zhongli carry, I suppose. From what we've seen, the early line seems to be start on Zhongli and do a skill, and then see if you can get the summon sound on Chiiori. Because the Zhongli talent will buff all Geo damage and Geo summon damage by 1 if he's above 7 HP. So it will buff all Chiiori's summons as well. And then with how many talent draw effects you have with Stove and with Storm Terror, or if you just draw into a talent naturally, you're able to guarantee some crazy setup.
Yeah, and actually, with Herald, there's something that you should keep in mind. It's that the Golden Automaton for Chiiori actually switches from the Geo damage summon to the coordinated damage summon. This is because... Yep, this is because of Herald's 2-hit combo. If you can apply coordinated damage from Chiiori's summons during the first hit, then that guarantees a crystallize.
Yeah, that actually does make sense. Unfortunately, though, with the way coordinated attacks work, and also it's a once per turn thing, so it doesn't work on the second strike of Herald to get a second crystallize. It'd be a little bit busted if it did.
Indeed. Thankfully, the coordinated damage is still summon damage, so Zhongli's talents will still buff it.
Oh, and still Geo damage from summons, so that does make sense. Yeah, both players starting with Zhongli. Unfortunately, though, it appears that Air is down a talent.
Quite. There we have to maybe gamble for a 50-50, or try to Yumkasaurus to see if Inzhagi has that Zhongli talent.
Well, Inzhagi doesn't have it either, but Inzhagi does have 2 copies of the Storm Terror's Lair, so it would let Air grab one next turn. The thing is, though, there's just not enough dice to play Yumkasaurus and also go for Zhongli. It's kind of unfortunate. They only have 5 dice here after playing the Seeing Your Heart Out, so it is just a straight-up gamble right now on whether or not we hit. Unless we go for an alternate line. There is enough dice to, if we get Chiiori talent, to swap over to her and then get the automaton dolls out instead.
I do not believe that is wise, though, because there's not many chances for you to... Well, sorry, there's actually a lot of chances to go back to Zhongli and pop the talent if that doesn't go to plan. Instead, wins the 50-50 and obtains the Zhongli talent. Alright, and that means Air can now safely play that Zhongli talent, and life is now working swimmingly.
Life is good if you are Air. Inzhagi, though, can get the, I think, ideal start with the Storm Terror's Lair to Zhongli talent, and then we swap over to Chiiori and get the automaton dolls coming out. I think that's what we saw, I think it was Tadano Megane do last game against Kevin. It just absolutely destroyed him with that. That's how much end phase damage came out. You do need to roll high, though, on which Chiiori doll you get. Also, if you look at the bottom left corner of Inzagi's field, we see he has the golden card back that he won by being the Prince Cup Pacific top 8. I wish I had that on my account. Those card backs look so cool.
Yeah, Inzhagi is the champion, and that does not give him any more card back rights, though it is certainly won him the right to be a golden card back owner.
Yeah, running first unfortunately doesn't give you like a super special card pack. Imagine they give you a lustrous card pack, but lustrous cards weren't invented back then, so.
Yeah, and now we don't have any more tournaments.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Alright, regardless, back to the game, Inzhagi has decided to tune the Sing Your Heart Out and plays the Zhongli talent. It is perfectly even still.
Both players kind of just mirroring each other. Well, I
Yep.
mean, Air has a slight advantage at the moment just because he was able to smack into Inzagi's naked Zhongli, whereas his already had a shield. But other shields will get chipped down, and what I kind of want to see, though, is the difference is Kokomi and the Herald, because the opening line is going to be more or less the same, but how they play around the Hydro character in their deck is going to be interesting, because they both play in a very different way. Kokomi is there to soak damage, whereas Herald provides a little bit of additional pressure.
Yeah, and it's basically an attack versus defense angle, which in a deck like Double Geo, Kokomi generally tends to have the edge. Though
I would agree. I think in a stall matchup, it's just more important to let your summons do all the work. Because, like, you can just have one guy soak the damage, and then Inzagi's characters are relatively more important than Kokomi. Herald will do more in an end board situation than a Kokomi will, so it's just having a 12 HP meat shield compared to only a 10 HP meat shield is a lot better.
quite. Regardless of Michiu status, both of them will probably be ending the round right now and go back to relatively equal HP aside from the Kokomi.
It's the Chiiori swap from from Air coming out. And Inzagi did end first, so there's turn priority there. I assume he's going to want to swap to Chiiori next turn regardless, though. But maybe something funky can come out. And it's just going to be the Kokomi swap as well to take the summon. Bonk.
Donk. I did not see where that swap come from, but regardless, we now go to round 2.
It was the Sing Your Heart Out free swap.
Right.
That's some nice dice, actually. Wow.
Ooh.
Not from Inzagi, though. Those dice are atrocious.
Yep. And it is now round 2, which means that Open Epiclipse provides one more Geodice, which means that after playing another Stone Terrace Lair, you only need to pay 2 Geodice to activate Chiiori's talent.
Well, Inzagi has exactly 2 Geodice, and then after that, there should be enough dice as well to swap over to Herald and do a skill as well. Could change depending on what automaton dolls he rolls. And oh no!
Oh no! That is a terrifyingly correctly placed Yonkasaurus play.
That was so perfectly timed. Inzagi doesn't get to guarantee the Chiiori talent anymore because keep in mind, the way Stoic God worked is it only draws you a talent turn 1. Turn 2 onwards, it just draws you card equal to round -1 up to 4. Oh no.
Oh no, indeed.
That's really bad.
Yeah, that's quite something to say the least. Right, Inzagi will just simply have to figure out how to play around it. Meanwhile, on Air's side, the problem instead is... Well, no, Air simply has a way to guarantee the Chiiori talent now after drawing the Stormtiller's Lair.
Yeah, if we want to play it though, we will need to use our wound, which honestly isn't that bad, because we get to have double the automaton dolls of Inzagi. And we also get to have more buffs up at the same time as well, so we are just in the lead. Inzagi just forced the skill twice, so we'll get dolls up. They'll have the same amount of dolls in the end phase, but from the next round onwards, Air is going to have the advantage, just because Chiiori with talent summons more dolls.
Quite. Right, pops the Woven to get enough dice to play Chiiori's automatons. And now with that, I believe, yep, as you can see, they have quite the different automaton choices. Inzhagi went for the coordinated damage, and Air went for the geo damage version, as I said before.
Nice choice from Inzhagi, eating the Mystique Soup, getting the -1 damage reduction ×3 over on Chiiori, which he did end on. That's going to help reduce a lot of the damage coming in end phase, and also ending first gives turn prio as well, which will give him first choice onto a summon next turn, or perhaps bursting on Chiiori with the additional coordinated damage, as well as Air's characters getting chunked in the end phase. A Chiiori burst could be enough to secure at least a lethal. Zhongli Town's buffing this as well, yeah, we'll guarantee it.
Yeah, after that, I mean, Chiiori's talent is not exactly needed for the Rain of Stone, it just gives an extra body to work with.
Exactly.
Yeah, does summons and face damage. Right, we'll have to see if Inzagi's dice is as bad as last time, though, with this mulligan. Though Air doesn't seem to be that much better either.
Neither player really has ideal dice. Inzhagi can use that Hydra as well if he decides to go to Herald. It does keep it. It rolls 2 more Hydro, so not ideal.
Not ideal. Yeah, with Chiiori's talent out of the picture, Inzhagi has to really quickly go for... Oh, right, the Favorites Library. Damn. The consideration for the dice lock actually paid off here.
Yeah. Looking in a much better place right now, though. Inzhagi kind of needs to make a choice here, though. Do we want to attack on Chiiori or perhaps swap to Herald? If we go on Chiiori, we assume Air will be able to treat it out with their Zhongli. As a skill from him right now, will do 5 damage with the buff from the Automaton Dolls. We can heal our Chiiori out of breakpoint range with the Spring O'Clock. It'll heal her up to 4, so she will live on 1 after attack, then we'll be up a character. Additionally, or we can alternatively go over to Herald and do a skill as well, apply some Hydro, try to get some crystallizes going, but no, it will be the Chiiori.
Yep, place the Hot Spring O'Clock. And then smacks for 2 to get rid of the Chiiori. That's simple enough. Inzhagi absolutely does not want Air to summon yet another Automaton Doll right now.
Yeah, it would be a full stack of 4 Automaton Dolls. That would be quite scary. I think the Zhongli talent buff for damage is only conditional on the pillar being active, so at least it's not going to be getting the +1 damage from that.
No, it only depends on the HP for Zhongli's talent.
I'll show you what I know. I guess I can't read. TCG players reading? I could never.
No, I only figured it out as last match myself because it came up in a discussion.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Also, all of a sudden, because Inzhagi was able to take turn prio last turn, and both Chiiori's were kind of just staring each other down. Suddenly is in a much better place. Air is down a character, and so early on in a relatively slow-paced game, being down Chiiori already is brutal. Oh, that's not the doll you want to attack, though. I don't know if you... No. You should still be able to do enough damage. Even without the +1 geo damage buff from that doll, you should still get it.
I mean, the Surfing Buddy also took away Inzagi's goated doll itself, because now without the coordinated doll, Inzhagi doesn't exactly have much to work with.
Exactly. So, if you don't know what Surfing Buddy does, it will, if there's at least 2 summons on the field, it will just have 1 summon from each side randomly attack each other.
Yep. And it chose both goated dolls, and it got rid of them from the field.
I don't know what Air is thinking about right now. I think the correct play is to skill to even up the numbers count. If we're scared on that Herald, we'll have enough dice to swap to Kokomi and Tank. What are we fishing for?
Oh, that's an opera.
We're fishing for stuff to fix our dice.
Yeah, Opera Eclairs with 6 total costs on Air's side will be able to fix for Geo, then that gives enough dice to do the Striking Stone. elemental skill, and then Chiiori will also be defeated on Inzhagi's side.
Characters count will be back to even. Hard to say who has the advantage. I think if it goes to just a 1v1 Zhongli off, it should favor Inzhagi just because there's the extra equip. Even going for the Geo Resonance as well to make sure that Zhongli absolutely doesn't go down.
Yeah, because Zhongli's at 7 and there's no healing on field because Kokomi is just kind of sitting there.
With the majority of your automaton dolls as well expiring last turn, the Springle Clock isn't getting you nearly as much healing as you would like either.
Yeah, it's none of the automaton dolls will be on field after this round because Chiiori's gone. So after this, it's a Zhongli off.
With some extra Hydro support mixed in.
Yeah, it will depend on how well the Hydro support work out. Plays the strategize here and gets something I could only describe as not the time.
Nothing we can really use this turn. We can try to equip the Golden Troops reward over onto Zhongli right now. We are going to be floating a dice, but it might not be that bad. Because Air can't attack, and a Herald will live the end phase barrage. And then going into next turn as well, we'll just have a reduced cost Zhongli skill. It will be more or less free, in combination because the -2 reduction from Golden Troop, as well as the Storm Terror's Lair. And then we're setting ourselves up really nicely for the Zhongli off, just because we're going to have more dice advantage.
The Zhongli off is... Honestly, I think something more important is how well you can do the... Who gets the petrification first?
Yeah, currently though, it looks like Air is set up for 2 energy opposed to 1. Also, the upper canopy class finally activated for Inzhagi because the Yumkasaurus is only a 1-cost equip, whereas Golden Troop Reward is a 2-cost. So dice advantage will go in favor of Inzhagi now, not only because the equips, but because the opera of Air won't activate in the future.
Yeah, it's opera tug of war, pretty much. Anyway, after playing Hot Springle Clock, that Zhongli is looking mighty fine right now.
Absolutely. We do have a choice here to make, though. Do we swap the Kokomi to tank the damage, as well as the potential Herald skill coming out? But then that leaves us open for just a free swap over to Inzhagi Zhongli for it to do its thing. And then we kind of don't want to stay on Kokomi because, well, no offense to Kokomi fans, but she doesn't do that much damage.
Yeah, when it comes to pressure, Herald does much better, but Herald also goes down in 1 hit from a high HP Zhongli's elemental 4 cost.
The Zhongli as well won't... Because Inzhagi doesn't actually run the Herald talent in this deck either, just to have a better chance of guaranteeing the Zhongli and Chiiori talent, there isn't anything increasing the cost of Zhongli's skill as well, and placing a Golden Troop over onto Kokomi. This could be interesting.
Yeah, because otherwise you won't be able to get Kokomi's... you won't be able to get the dice discount from the... from Golden Troop. It's the best way to ramp. It's the only way to ramp, actually. Air drawings Inazuma Resonance. That is going to negate the dice luck for 1 round. Meanwhile, on Inzhagi, trying to get some good dice with Fabulous Librarian failing. But at least Opera Epic List activates.
That's enough for a Herald skill. Inzhagi doesn't have nearly enough cards to tune in hand right now, unless he wants to play for the countdown, but that cuts into his action economy. Only has 9 dice, so it's 3 actions maximum this turn. So yeah, just wants to try to use all of them.
Yep. Let's see here.
I think I like his Zhongli normal into skill here. It's the most efficient way to take care of the Herald and just bring it down to a Zhongli off.
Yeah, and after that, Zhongli is also petrification ready.
Exactly. And then all we need to do now is just normal into skill, take out Herald, make sure our own Zhongli doesn't die, and then find a way to bring him in next turn and get that Petrify off. And because our opponent's going to be down to a single character, we should be able to have the advantage in that regard, but swapping over to Kokomi to eat the damage. Don't know if I like this.
Yeah, that simply spreads aura unnecessarily. Though I suppose if you're wary of the Zhongli off, this is also a good option.
I think I'm fine with the Zhongli off if I just remove Heralds from the board. Yeah, I won't have any actions remaining, but I'll still have enough dice to swap over onto Kokomi. Maybe what Air was worried about is that Inzhagi's on the counterattack, because he gets a free swap if the Herald goes down. We'll have enough damage to bring Zhongli below the 7 HP breakpoint for talent. That's the only reason I can see that we're not going for the play, reducing it to one character and guaranteeing ourselves the win with Petrify.
Yeah. I mean, guaranteeing the win with Petrify is paramount, because if you do not do that, then the opponent will simply Petrify you and then you're out of actions and have to waste a lot of dice.
Exactly. Perhaps Air is seeing a line that I am not, but I like simplifying the board state in our position.
Yep. If you're ahead, you generally want to simplify the board state to take the decisive win as is. That is a common tactic in chess.
What is the play here? We just play Georez on the Kokomi. Do we swap over to Zhongli? Yes, we do. Okay.
I suppose the plan is simply swap stalling.
But if this was always the play, we might as well have just normal attacked onto Herald. It would have cost us the same amount of dice, and in that way, our opponent is down a character. I don't like this line right now.
Same. Well, it might be just a sign of things to come. Maybe the winds will change. Please sing your heart out. Get double Woven and one Geores.
Keep in mind as well that Air is down a Woven because he was forced to play one earlier in order to get the Chiiori skill off in tandem with the Stolen Storm Terror's Lair.
Yep, hits with Striking Stone, and now the Air's Zhongli is at 8 and is likely at risk of losing it due to the Striking Stone.
I don't think we can afford to stay on Zhongli here. We don't have enough to do our 5-cost skill, reduced by Storm Terrors, but we'll need to commit our Woven if we want that.
Well, we could try to Mystic Sue for it, which I believe I do see the discount.
Okay, that is something.
Yep. And you get the discount, and there's Storm Terror's Lair, so you get 2-cost Zhongli skill, which is good enough for Air at this stage.
That does mean that we are leaving our Zhongli out in the open, which is, once again, why I hate that swap play. Because this would have been the end result of the normal into skill play regardless, but we guarantee ourselves a kill. Right now, we're just kind of throwing everything up in the air. What were we going for? I don't understand.
What? Damage reduction? Okay. Fair enough. Oh. That's interesting.
We need to keep the Spring O'Clock. Either tune the Thunder in Eternity or tune the Surfing Buddies.
Decides to go for Surfing Buddies because it's sort of a double-edged sword in this matchup.
Yeah, I think turning Surfing Buddies was the correct play. We have very few cards in our hand right now, and if it goes to a Zhongli off, we want to spam out that 5-cost skill, and without having enough cards to tune to guarantee you get that out, which is your main source of damage, it just doesn't make sense to get rid of something to fix your dice.
Here Inzhagi switches to Herald. Let's see. Yep, Air out of dice, decides to end round. And now the play ball is in Inzhagi's hand. Decides to play Geores. And maybe... No. Yeah, that's fine.
This guarantees the Herald gets to live in the end phase. Quite smart of a play from Inzhagi. And once again, I'm questioning Air's decision to not go for the Herald kill when he had the chance. Because right now, it's posing so many problems. Not only did the alternate line he go for just cost him a lot more dice and a lot more HP, But Inzagi's using this Herald to maximum efficiency right now.
Yeah. And now Air might be deciding that this Herald is gonna be trouble after that Geodes. So regardless, Herald is still having its revive active, so Air will have to figure out how to defeat it in 2 hits still. And that's gonna take a lot of dice. Dice that Air might not be able to spare right now.
Opera from both sides, though, have been activated, so no more extra dice generation coming from Inzagi. Air needs to get rid of one of these. Well, Herald has no equips, but the Zhongli has more equips than the rest of his team combined. Can even out the numbers by equipping a Yumka source onto his own Zhongli. That will guarantee an even dice count in terms of equips. And will let him get some extra dice going if he needs it. At worst, it's net neutral.
Yeah, at worst is net neutral. Let's see. I mean, Yamkasaurus here would actually be semi... well, it would be good for Inzagi to get the countdown joint, because that means he gets to draw another card that he can use to fix the game for him.
That's true. I don't think we want to actually use the technique, though. I think we just want it for Opera dice.
Fair enough. Switches to Kokomi.
Right now, we see how careful Air needs to be, though. Because this Herald is still in play, he needs to be so much more cautious of the swap stall. And because, like, Herald just does more damage on skill, Zhongli can't just sit in front of its face and keep smacking and eventually wearing it down or ramp in its face. Air needs to be so cautious of this card. And Herald's Prepare skill still has 2 hits to it. Means that Air needs to spend a lot more dice swap stalling around it, as opposed to Inzagi.
Yeah, but I'm also eyeing the line of just switching to Zhongli right now.
You know what, I'm down. This Kokomi doesn't do anything. Sure,
Yeah.
let's go.
Oh, here goes Herald's elemental skill. And Kokomi can do absolutely nothing right now, except maybe Yamka. I mean, the normal attack does nothing, the elemental skill simply puts more Kurage. Yep, gets the Yamka for Opera Epicless. Tunes the countdown, that is reasonable. Grabs Inzagi's countdown, draws another countdown, and Herald goes for the Prepare skill. Kokomi is now out of Yamka stacks, so Opera Epicless does not proc in the next round once again.
Yeah, it's dead for another turn.
Yep, it's dead for another turn.
Something that's huge as well is that Inzagi has the Herald Burst up. Yeah, he has no talent, but the Burst as well applies the stacks, which makes your skills increase their dice cost by 1. So Inzagi still has the avenue to mess with Air's dice economy. With no Opera as well, like a Herald Burst would make it so Air can only Zhongli 5-cost skill a single time in a turn.
Yeah, But is that worth the cost? Because...
I think it is.
Here goes
Air with no more Wovens can't 5-cost skill.
Yep, here goes the Herald. I believe that Surfing Buddy actually comes before the Woven, so if Air decides to Yamka on the Zhongli, the Woven will still stay in Inzagi's hand.
But if he Yumkas right now as well, there won't be enough dice to do a 5-cost skill, even if there is a Woven, because it does still cost dice to get the Yumka in the first place. Pops the Herald for 5, yeah, Surfing Buddy's unlucky.
Oh, I haven't lost yet. That will give Inzagi the last energy he needs to petrify the Zhongli in the Zhongli off.
You need to make sure Herald lives in the end phase, though. A summons right now will do barely enough damage. Oh, wait, no, Zhongli is below 7. Hold on. Herald actually lives end phase by 1.
Well, that's where the Hot Sprinkle Clock comes in.
Exactly. If you've got the Hot Sprinkle Clock, though, you can't do a skill. Not that you can right now. Well, you can do a 3-cost, which would guarantee, but then you wouldn't have enough dice to swap off, and then it looks a bit risky.
Yeah. And now the Zhongli comes up to defend the Herald, which can risk getting hit to below 7 HP, but also it might be worth the risk. Here goes Hot Spring O'Clock.
You know, unironically, I like the idea of Yunka, pray for a Woven, swap Kokomi.
Huh. Yeah, if you Yumka right now, you will get the Woven, but... But Air doesn't know that, and thus thus it would be quite a risky endeavor. Oh!
Really?
Planet Befall! We're just going for it.
That's Petrify down. Oh, right, because Inzhagi has the Golden Troop reward. His skill only costs 2 dice.
Yep.
It's just running massive damage and taking Zhongli below the 7 HP breakpoint. Air needs to play around it, but no more dice now. Unlucky for him, though, Inzhagi doesn't have anything to reduce the cost of Herald's skill, so no more pressure going that way. That does allow Inzhagi to take turn prio, though, at the cost of 2 of his dice. Do you want to swap back to Herald, though, just to make sure your Golden Troop gets you even more value? There's no Petrify to worry about either, so swapping to Zhongli next turn is 100% safe regardless. The only thing is that your talent isn't getting any value, and you don't have Spring of Clocks to heal you up.
Yeah, your talent no longer has value, and I think Inzhagi has exhausted his healing sources. Zhongli goes down to 2 HP, and it's now looking good for the fighters.
Inzhagi does have turn prio once again, though, and Air has used both of his Spring of Clocks, which does mean that after a skill from Inzhagi Zhongli, Air Zhongli will no longer benefit from the +1 damage on talent, because he will be below that crucial 7 HP breakpoint. Dice looking good for Inzhagi, Air's not so much, but there is the Thunder and Eternity to help fix things up.
Yep. Let's see, with 9 dice and some Storm Terror's Lair and another Woven, that is a lot of skills to be going through to Air's side.
Playing the Woven now, smart choice. He doesn't need it for extra dice on the skill, but is scared that Air will decide to try to yoink it away with the Yumkasaurus. So just playing it now to make sure that that's not a possibility. That skill right there as well also gave Zhongli the 3rd energy he needed for the Elemental Burst.
But it's too late. With Thunder and Eternity, Air converts all this side to Omni Dice and pays the 6 cost to defeat Zhongli.
It's just Herald versus the world right now. It will have 3 actions because of the I haven't lost yet. Yeah, 9 dice total.
But all those dice are not looking good, my friend.
No, unfortunately not. A lot of them are the wrong element. Thankfully, though, for Inzhagi, Air doesn't actually have enough dice to skill again on Zhongli, just because of how much that Herald skill taxed of him.
Yep. And after this normal attack, then Zhongli is now vulnerable again.
Oh,
however,
Opera goes huge?
Opera?
Oh, right, yeah. Because Zhongli had all the equips. The only reason Air wasn't able to benefit from that is because Zhongli had 6 cost equips total, which was more than the rest of his team. But now that Zhongli is down, suddenly the tides are turned because Herald has 0 dice worth of equips, which means Air actually is the one benefiting now. Getting the extra dice here, a single skill will be all it takes to take the game.
Not yet. It's not over yet.
I think I did my math right. Skill and then end phase will be enough. And I don't think Herald can chunk through both Kokomi and Zhongli, really. We're playing the swap game?
Yep, it's exactly because it's not enough.
Oh, no talent.
Right here, I would
probably... Yeah, you're right. It's not quite enough.
Tune 1. Maybe go for normal attack here. Nope. Decides to go for the Elemental Burst. Ooh, that's
Rugged coming out. We have 2 turns worth of dice reduction from the Golden Troop, so barely enough to get that out.
yeah. And now Herald it has to decide between getting turn priority and hitting another time. But either way, I don't think Inzagi is gonna win this. Inzagi decides to take the turn priority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Golden
you're right.
Troop reward.
I highly doubt Inzhagi can make a comeback from this position. 4 HP Herald, well 5 now, well less. Yeah, 2 HP Herald, that's going to be a one-shot, burn through all of his healing resources. There's a Chiiori talent that he desperately needed earlier on. Coming very late, to say the least.
Yep. If Air had not done that round 2 perfect precision Yamkasaurus yoink, then Chiiori talent would have appeared way earlier. All that value's just down the drain now. Here Inzhagi does his final act, and Air bursts to win the game.
Congratulations to Air. It looked a bit dicey at the end there. I think Air made a couple of misplays towards the end, at least in my opinion. But regardless, I think the early game from Air was just too strong. Turn 2, perfectly sniping away the Storm Terror's layer from Inzhagi, denying him the Chiiori talent, and getting himself such a massive lead.
Indeed. That, like, the mirror match actually looked rather even before the second round, because let's be honest, it's like we were theorizing how it's gonna be Herald versus Kokumi and who can utilize who better, but as it turns out, all it took was inaccessibility to Chiiori talent.
Yeah, one good yoink was all it took, and then Chiiori talent provides so much value for this deck. It gives you an extra free summon every time you do it, and also lets you pick between more automaton dolls to get the one you want more often, and being able to steal that away is so brutal.
Yeah, as you can tell, that the loss of that Chiiori doll really like put a damper on things. It's -2 damage per turn, and like damn. Right, and that's it for game 1, I believe. We shall now move on to game 2.
It's so great not needing to have to wait a long time because these games happened already from time zone reasons. We can just jump straight into the next one. What deck do we pick for game 2? I want to see the Emerite one.
It's Kachinavia versus another Chiiori from Inzhagi.
Okay. I don't know how to feel about this matchup, because typically stall is favored, which is what the Chiiori Zhongli deck is. It's a slower paced deck that wants to wear down the opponent, but the stall decks right now that the players are playing don't have as many sustained resources of stall decks of days past. You don't have infinite healing from Barbara, you don't have like instant healing options like Lotus or Hash Browns, you have more conditional ones like Spring O'Clock. And yeah, there is Geores, but that can get worn down pretty quickly with some twirling from Kachina.
Yeah, Geores is basically a Lotus, but you'd really rather have 4 Lotus than 2 Lotus.
Exactly.
Right.
And we don't have like Matsutake and stuff in these stall decks either, so it's just so much less healing than before. Here it is though, this is Air's Kachinavia deck. The one difference compared to other Kachinavia decks though is the double Dawn Winery. Typically, from what I've seen, most players only usually want to run one of those, and the double Pancreation coming out once again for the turn 1 tech.
Yeah, and there's not that many things of note in this deck. It's all quite standard. There's the double Navia talent, double Kachina talent, which is I think that's a little too many talents, but the players decide their own formulas.
From what I've seen, running 2 Navia, 2 Kachina is the standard from players. I don't think I've seen a single player that's run like a 3-1 combo or a 1-1 combo. What's the note in Air's deck though is that he's using 2 Heart of Kavrinas as opposed to an extra Source Cracker and an extra Sing Your Heart Out.
That would be some on-demand draw by simply taking damage, but the loss of a Source Cracker and the loss of a Sing is kind of painful, if I must say.
The Source Crackers have come up huge for so many players, though. Here is Inzhagi's deck, though. We've already seen this one. The Fafoni's Library actually went pretty huge last game. It made sure Inzhagi just didn't need to tune away his entire hand, as we saw Air did. Air had a pretty sizable card advantage going into turn 3, but as the rounds went on, because he didn't have the extra dice fixing, had to keep tuning and tuning and tuning, eventually wore down that advantage.
Yeah, and that another is that second Storm Tailor Flare ended up backfiring in Inzhagi's face due to the mirror match.
True. But this time, though, Air doesn't have a Yumkasaurus to try to steal that away. And even if he did, not a lot of characters benefit from that regardless. So Air versus Inzhagi, round 2. Kachinavia versus Chiiori Zhongli. Who do you think is going to take this one, Summation?
I honestly can't tell because I haven't really studied this matchup extensively, but I must root for Chiiori Zhongli here. It is aggro versus some sort of stall, and in the triangle, it's usually stall that comes out on top.
The thing is, though, I think stall nowadays is more of the mid-range of the past, and then aggro can take on mid-range with a fair amount of consistency. Mainly just because there's not nearly as many healing resources.
Fair. And Inzhagi is not running the Kokomi version either, which means that the loss of that healing might end up backfiring in Inzhagi's face from Air's relentless assault.
And with how cheap Kachina's skill is, and I don't think techniques are hacks with Herald Burst.
Techniques evade taxes, yes.
Yeah, even if Inzhagi's able to get a Herald Burst out and start taxing Air, it kind of doesn't matter because Kachina's skill is just that cheap. Not enough Pyro turn 1 though, we'll need to tune something. That's not great.
Ooh, yeah, that dice luck is still coming in play a lot for the starting player. You only need to tune 1, but it's still frustrating.
It's brutal because you need the Boar Princess for the turn 1 combo, and you also really want the Chintal and Dawn Whiner in as well. But its strategize is going. That's going to be less dice draw in the hands of Air. That's kind of his only draw option, realistically speaking. Oh, that's kind of nice.
That's very nice. You got Moonpiercer from that, damn.
No Storm Terror in hand, though. We might be forced to play the Stove God. Just to guarantee ourselves our Chiiori talent, make sure that doesn't get sniped away. Not that
it can't get sniped away. Though.
But we don't have Storm Terrors, so we don't have a guaranteed Chiiori talent turn 2.
Yep, so you kind of want to get that as soon as possible. And eventually, Zhongli will place that talent at some point.
Something to consider as well for Inzhagi is typically the play here is just to play the Zhongli talent and then pass the turn. But because because of how much damage Kachina does turn 1, Inzhagi chooses to invest the Woven. Oh, one, no. That's a lot of damage. Yeah, I was gonna say, Inzhagi choosing to invest the Woven so he has an extra dice to swap off. I might choose to invest the second one as well. I'm pretty sure Kachina has a fair chance at just killing here.
Fair. But if you just switch to Chiiori, then there's no point. Yep, place a Woven and then snap switches to Chiiori here. And now Kachina cannot damage the Zhongli.
That does mean that the extra dice generation is gone. And Inzhagi invested both Wovens. There will be no more surprise dice from him for the rest of the game.
Yep. I do not think he needs it if he is planning to play the long game against the aggro deck of Kachinavia.
Probably not. You get kind of like the perfect opening. The Moonpiercer as well dealt so much damage. That's disgusting.
We'll have to see how much that Moonpiercer comes back into play.
I kind of like the idea of getting some twirling down here. Oh, there's not actually enough dice to get 2 of them off. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, there's not even enough dice to get the talent out. Wait, what's the dice? Yeah, one range to swap is perfectly fine. So you just swap back and then guarantee a swirl, guarantee a crystallize. Sorry, and that will be all dandy.
I go back to Lenny.
Yep. Now Air's gonna end and have to figure out what to do with that 2 HP Linny. Oh dear lord.
Not a very healthy Lenny, but that's fine. We're expecting Chiiori to just get an Automaton Dull Summon out. So then we can go for another prop arrow or perhaps a skill, just get the extra damage out. Or a prop arrow if we think we can get 2 crystallizes down this turn. Really depends.
Yeah. It depends on what line Inzhagi wants to go with.
What do we end up going for? A question here for Inzhagi is, do we Storm Terror? Because yes, we already have Chiiori talent, and yeah, it'll be like effectively a... Well, no, because it reduces 1. You kind of don't spend extra dice on the talent, and then you also get the Zhongli reduced cost on the skill later on. But it does put a little bit of extra burden on us this turn. So do we choose to go for it now, or perhaps do we wait?
I think with the amount of unusable... Never mind, we tune that up.
Guess we need the extra dice for something this turn, but what? What doll do we
Who
choose?
knows? The doll chosen is the plus geo damage one, not the coordinator one.
Curious.
It's the original coated version, and it goes well with Rain of Stone, so... I guess that's a consideration when going up against Kachina, because even if Chiiori falls here, you cannot easily evade that 10 damage Rain of Stone with the degraded Linny.
It's also quite hard to get an Chiiori out a second time as well, just because of how much damage she's already taken.
Quite. Place the Mystic Soup on probably Chiiori. Yes, Chiiori.
Yep.
And does not get the dice discount, so we'll have to go with something else. Gets the +2.
I don't mind the play of going Herald and equipping the Golden Troop on the Zhongli or something. Just try to preserve our Chiiori HP for another turn, accept that Herald is a loss, and yeah, Zhongli will take some piercing damage, but it's not all bad. We will have the Spring of Clock to heal him up.
Yep. It's gonna be a Zhongli carry angle, going up against all 3 of the aggro characters.
Yeah, it'll be a Zhongli carry angle with a Chiiori double summon next turn. And honestly, I kind of like that, because it also denies a Crystallize instantly from our opponent.
Fair. There's only so many Pyro Aura to go around. It is Inzagi's turn to act and immediately goes to Herald. Maybe that will make the Zhongli vulnerable, so I'm not sure how much that's gonna come in.
You're taking at most 1 piercing every time the Kachina twirls on you. And she's not going to twirl on you more than like 6 times, which is fine because you have Spring of Clock to heal him up. You're
Fair
taking
enough.
max like 6 piercing.
Yeah. Twirling.
That being said, this kind of hurts.
Yep. The Boar Princess comes out. And I dislike that decision, though it's probably fine considering the circumstances. Either way, Hero falls.
I think we misplayed that a little bit from Air. I like the idea of going for the Overflowing Foliage Stein first. That way we can get our Covenant of Rock out.
Yep. I also prefer the Abundant Phlogiston angle. Though I'm not sure when you play the Boar Princess, or if that's the case. Like the 2 dice from the Boar Princess is kind of huge.
You can always keep it as tuning fodder.
Fair. Anyway, due to the fact that Inzhagi has already ended round and Zhongli will now go below 7 HP, the Rain of Stone will deactivate for the round.
So here, Herald will always die end phase. The question is, do we skill now and let Kachina tank the end phase damage, or do we swap to someone else and get an extra crystallize? Looks like it'll be Kachina angle. We're down another crystallize. Inzhagi has been playing so well to avoid the extra shrapnel in the deck, and that'll be a Pyro Aura wasted as well. Unfortunate. Only 2 more of those to go at the moment. It's very unlikely Linny will have a chance to come out, unless Kachina is just sacrificed to the gods.
I mean, Kachina can stand there, sure. The Rain of Stone doesn't hurt that much. It's only 5 damage.
Well, it doesn't hurt that much, but it sure as hell still hurts.
Fair. And Kachina's burst ready. I'm not sure how much that matters.
Well, we should have 2 more twirls left, because we have 1 Overflowing Phlegiston as well as 1 Nightsoul point remaining. It should be enough to guarantee a kill on Chiiori. Looks like we're swapping over to Linny.
Yep, to pop out that Turbo Trolley, the board princess discards and you get the last Omni.
Well, we can't use it for anything, so I don't
Yep.
know what the play is here.
Yeah, no cards, no dice.
Honestly, I think this is just a misplay from Air. I think the Overflowing Phlegiston angle is just better than what we did. It would have given us the same amount of actions, but we also get to preserve the Boar Princess for later if we need it. Could have used it next turn if we want to do some twirling Kachina, or perhaps just later on when we sacrifice her with Boar Princess to get 1 Omni Dice for Navi to do an extra action. Or even just keep it for tuning fodder. We're just down a card for no reason.
True enough.
Another thing as well is I think if we're just going to swap to Linny anyways, we should have done it earlier when Herald was at 2 HP, because that way we get an extra crystallize for 3 more shrapnel in our deck.
Yeah, the Navia angle going late is gonna be rough. Maybe you switch to Navia and then let her take it first.
Because my opinion right now is that damage on Chiiori doesn't matter. Right? She's going to be put onto 3 HP, who cares? She was going to die to a single Navia skill regardless.
Yeah. Oh, Kachina's taking it. I'm not sure how much I like this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Air isn't playing completely optimally. There's still a lot of damage going the other side, but we could have an extra Boar Prince in our hand right now, and we could also have 6 extra shrapnel in our deck.
True.
All those dice look atrocious. No rerolls either, because we already used it. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, atrocious on both sides, though Kachina is less bothered by it. In theory. In practice, right now, she is absolutely suffering.
In practice as well, we can't get our burst off, because our dice are just that bad.
Yep.
We need to either get Turbo Twirly out, or we burst. We can't do both.
In the case of Inzhagi, though, there's still Oh. Discards the Sing Your Heart out that could have drawn more cards, and decides to go for another Chiiori doll. Probably expecting Air to burst, with how much dice that is. Regardless, Air doesn't because he cannot. And here comes Mao and plays the Hot Spring O'Clock. Draws another Sing. Cannot be used this turn because Zhongli is saturated. Decides to go to Zhongli.
Threatening a Zhongli skill, but little does Air know, Inzhagi 2 is broke on Geodice. Also no Shrapnel in hand. We could threaten the one-shot if we had more Shrapnel, which we don't, which is sad, but that's fine. Kachina will live a skill from Zhongli. Maybe go there and then just... Okay.
Okay.
Normal attack on Navia angle? This feels so sad. Oh no, please.
June
Oh
3.
god. Oh god. Really funny play from Inzhagi. You know the opponent has no Geodice. Go Chiiori. Yeah. Don't punch, don't give them cards, just go Chiiori. And then Air is sad.
Yep. With the Quarina comes in handy at times like this.
Like, you know your opponent has no dice to do anything with. If you attack into them, you give them a card to tune to maybe do something. But what if you just don't? You know?
Yeah, what if you just don't? Like, right now, air is absolutely out of options. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
No skill? Okay.
Go ahead.
Interesting.
No attack. Coordinated Geo. Draws the shrapnel.
We're sad here. We're so sad.
Ah.
If we had enough Geodice to just burst into skill on Kachina, we were so winning, but because we bricked on dice, it just feels so bad. Like, what do we do here? We're sad.
We're sad.
How much damage is this? Probably not enough to kill. 6 damage, you live on 1, opponent can't do another action. They're completely broke on dice. I think the play here for air is we end on Navia. We pass on 5 dice because we don't want to tune the Shrapnel. We pray for 2 Shrapnel top deck and to kill Zhongli and let Kachina solo. Or if we don't top deck 2 Shrapnel, we just slap Kachina and go twirling. That's probably the optimal play here. I don't like this.
Tries to gamble. Gets the gamble. Though, wrong gamble.
That's fine.
It's fine.
If we equip Gamblers and end first, as long as we draw 1 Shrapnel, we will get a Gambler's reset. And also guarantee ourselves a kill.
Yeah, that's...
I'm fine with this. Equip Gamblers on Navia past the turn, yeah. Really?
Ooh. Huh. Okay. That might be because Inzhagi has like 7 damage on in-face. No.
Pretty sure it's 6. Or it's
It's
6 or less. Yeah, you live.
It's
I
4.
I don't know why we did that. We even got the Shrapnel. If we just equipped Gamblers on Navia, it was so winning.
Yeah.
Like, I think the play there was either don't use the Shrapnel and then pray we top deck another one, or we play Gamblers of Navia and then pray we top deck another one.
Whew,
I don't know why we're going for like this half commit here. It's so punishing. Because like now we don't get the Gamblers reset, and then we're forced to go Kachina. There's no point in staying on Navia right now. We don't have the Gamblers. We're not gonna get the reset.
And now, if Navia defeats Chiiori, then Big John comes out and cleans house. Maybe, probably.
Well, we're going on to Kachina because we have no choice. We equip the Gamblers on her.
Yeah, and gets the -2 damage.
I don't know if the cheaper skill was in there. If it was, we should have considered that because we do not have enough dice to burst and then skill. It's just not possible. Which is why we should have just equipped Gamblers onto Navia. What are we doing here?
True. That's so true.
If we're going for the gamble play, we commit to the gamble play.
There's a Chiiori and goes back to Zhongli.
Yeah, like I said, if we're going for the gamble play, just commit to it. What are we doing?
And now, you can probably, as Inzhagi, you can probably Storm Taylor Flare into 4 costs just to rub it in.
Probably don't even need it, yeah. Get to troll once and then we're kind of sad.
Fair.
Imagine if we got the Gamblers reset off on Chiiori. The world looks so good right now.
Ooh, the 1 cost 5 cost elemental skill. Oh right, because there's no automaton though that gives plus 0 damage to your automatons. So right now they're just all 1 geo damage. But still, our CEO of Geo is equipped with Moonpiercer to deal with situations where the summons don't cut it anymore.
Not quite enough. Well, not quite enough to 5 cost skill a second time because we are once again broke on dice. One dice
Yeah.
short of being able to do that. Well, one online dice. We do need to have enough in theory, so air needs to be threatened by it.
Yep.
A burst would kill
Yeah.
Kachina, and then summons will finish off end phase, which just might be the play we go for. I'm
That
pretty
is-
sure Planet Befall wins on the spot, and there's nothing air can do.
Yeah, that was probably the play. Regardless, air switches to Navia, and what else can you do here?
Oh, you normal attack. Because you Moon Pierce, it does 3, so just normal attack, and then either summons will win you the game, or you Planet Befall next turn, Petrify, and win the game regardless.
出门找找灵感吧。
Instead, decides to switch to Chiiori to swap stall because you only need 3 dice for that play.
What are we worried about, though? Because Kachina Burst only does 3. There's no weapon in Air's deck to buff the damage. Zhongli always lives on 1, and then we have 5 dice. We can just swap to Chiiori end phase anyways if we're worried about Zhongli dying. I don't know why we need to swap now.
It doesn't hurt to be careful even with 1 dice on hand, even with 1 card on hand. So
I suppose we're worried about Shrapnel into Burst? Sure.
yeah, the Shrapnel Gamba does come when it's least wanted.
Well, there's the Shrapnel. What do we get?
1 Shrapnel. 2 Shrapnel.
I don't think anything we draw here actually matters, because we're so broke on aligned dice.
3
Even if we-
Shrapnel.
Even if we draw all the Shrapnel in the world, it doesn't matter. Also, there's only 2 Shrapnel left in the deck. Actually, no, there's more Shrapnel than that in the deck. Never mind. It should be like
Yeah.
16 total, I believe. Not drawing any of them, though.
Yeah, draws into Saurus Crackers instead. That is not what you want. Pass. And now Inzhagi gets to play.
Probably just skill here, honestly.
Yeah, I think skill to fetch the Geo Automaton works out.
Or just an extra Tomtom anyways, because end phase summons will always eliminate Navia. And then we get to keep Burst to try to threaten a one-shot to Kachina, and if that doesn't work, that's fine, we have Zhongli.
Yep, it's a one-shot burst threatened from both Chiiori and Zhongli. Either way.
One of them has the extra benefit of a Petrify, but that's beside the point.
Yep. Either way, it's gonna be hard to defend against.
天虹零落。
Oh. Do
Oh.
our summons finish end phase? Did we math it out?
Instead decides to Chiiori burst for Inzhagi. And
It was
the
the only one for Chiiori to do 3 damage to single action, but this only pays off if the summons one shot. Not that it really matters, we're so far ahead, I'm pretty sure we win anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, Kachina lives on 2, but that's fine.
Yep, she lives on 2, though the Zhongli threat still exists. And Air doesn't seem to be drawing anything interesting.
Both Mystique Soups, I think, were already used for air, so there's no healing left in that deck. No damage reduction either, so regardless, that Kachina will be going down to a single action.
Yep, so it will be Inzhagi for the second game then.
That's some nice dice. Goddamn.
Indeed. And Air finally got some nice dice for. Oh, Geores!
Okay. That changes
Yep.
things a bit.
That changes things.
Would have loved one more Shrapnel and then the Geores. Because currently Chiiori is on 4, which is 1 off of dying to burst.
Yep.
Not that it really matters, because once again, we have Planet Befall, but, you know.
It's before time. Soon.
It's meatball time.
Yeah, well, if Air Kachinavia here, then Inzhagi has to stay on Chiiori and do some random action. Like summoning the dolls again.
I like the summoning the dolls, yeah, just no more damage on the field.
I could also see just normal attacking.
Nah, I think we summon the dolls. There's no reason not to. We have enough aligned dice where we can, like, do 2 actions on either character, so I think this is fine.
Yeah, but I guess I wanted more upfront damage in this situation.
Thing to be a bit worried about though is that the piercing is stacking up on Zhongli. The top pick on Chiiori is actually doing a lot more than I expected.
Yeah.
I
Which is
still
why
don't
I
think it's
wanted
enough.
that in A.
I'm
Either
very
either way
certain
I
it's not
do
enough.
either way I do believe that Zhongli's Planet Before will be able to finish it off.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of extra help with the dolls here, because the thing is that Kachina can only twirl one more time because it twirl does 2 damage. Chiiori is on exactly 2 HP, which means the next twirl will eliminate her and then force Inzhagi into Zhongli, which is good, because then you Planet Before and you win. If funnily enough, if Chiiori was a bit healthier, Air might take the game, just to piercing damage. Because Inzhagi can't stop the Zhongli without risking him going down. Which is kind of funny.
Yeah, if on the other hand, if Air went in Metal Burst first, then the only way for Inzhagi to lose is if he accidentally switches to Zhongli. And then that's a double kill.
Yep. Well, you'd also need to... Oh, no, because he already had 1 Night Soul point. Never mind. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he spent the Night Soul point just now. But if that were to happen, then it would be the stupidest reversal of all time.
It's still closer than I thought. I still think Air made a slight misplay there by not gambling on Navia, but that's fine.
Oh, here decides to play Turbo Twirly, and then there's the threat of tuning 2 for Elemental Burst to take down the Zhongli.
I don't think
But
Burst is piercing, does it? It shouldn't.
it shouldn't.
Yeah.
But it will still take down the Zhongli, and then the summons will take down the rest of Kachina's bank of HP.
That's fine, though. We just normal attack. Except 3 dice remaining for a burst on either character. This forces Air to just go twirl. And after that, it's the game. Because either character will burst, and then after that, Kachina will have no more health from the summons.
Yep.
Yeah, with Gamblers and with the Night Soul and how efficient Kachina is with dice, there is actually enough for Air to win it out, but there's just not enough HP.
Air decides to tune for time, and probably after this, it's an ultimate into game end.
Only really needs 1. Only have 3 HP on Kachina.
Yep.
Would need a second Georise if we want to win, but it's not in hand right now. No Shrapnel to gamble for it either, unfortunately.
Yep, there we go. Chiiori goes down, and Zhongli is left with 1 HP. And now, Planet Before. And Kachina is down. The game 2 goes to Inzhagi.
In comes the spicy meatball at the perfect time, right at the end there. 1 HP left on Zhongli for the win. If Air had 1 more Shrapnel when he went for that Navia skill, it would have taken it. But this time it is not to be. Inzhagi evens out our game 1-1.
Yep. And my god, that is certainly delightful. A wonderful attack. Clinch from 1 HP from Inzhagi's Zhongli.
It was really close. I think I keep harping on it, but I feel like we should have just committed with the Gamblers onto Navia. I felt like that would have given us enough dice the turn after to take the lead, if not win outright. But because we kind of went for this halfway play, it just didn't quite pan out the way we wanted it to. And the dice as well, coming in the next turn, they had like 1 usable as well. Made it so we weren't able to twirl onto Navia at all. Sorry, twirl with Kachina at all. There just wasn't enough dice.
That is certainly one of the things about time. I'm not quite sure how the game would have gone when if the Gamblers went to Navia instead, but
yeah, I mean, that is a parallel universe that we will never get to see. But that's fine. Because we have more games to look forward to, like our match 3. What decks did our player choose this time?
Yep, this is our final match, and it will be Kachinavia again. And it's a mirror! It's a Kachinavia mirror between Air and Inzhagi. Hey,
I want to
it's
see
fine.
the right deck.
It's fine. Inzhagi doesn't actually trust in that Eremite deck, I heard.
But I trust in it, maybe, potentially. I think it's fun. It looks so interesting, but no one's bringing it out. I just want to see it.
I guess it's kind of like a deck you just stash for the side, or maybe a third deck. Because let's be real, you only need to play Kachinavia and Hero Chongli because there's no bans.
True. I think the Eremite deck is probably a tech pick. Like, if your opponent is bringing one specific deck that just beats the rest of yours, here's this one. Let's try to gamble into that matchup.
Yep, that is certainly something. Right, we have already seen Air's Kachinavia before, and it's certainly not changed since the last time we saw it.
Nope, deck list already submitted, so you can't change them halfway through. I hope that one of these players gets the Pancratration turn 1. I don't think it actually matters in this matchup, because, you know, both Kachinas can go on forever. But I want to see the turn 1 tech with Pancratration, because it's just a card you don't see in any other deck.
Yep, Pancratration. Inzhagi only run one Pancratration, actually.
Only one Don Warner as well, choosing to replace it with a second Chef Mao added in there. Replacing one of the Heart of Camarines as well for what? I think that's a second Senior Hardo, and I think that's a second Four Princess as well.
Yeah, this will be the final match of the day, and in fact, this match is actually quite low. Well, not low stakes, but it's lower than the other matches we have seen before, because unlike the others who risk elimination, these two are only duking it out to decide who gets to keep their extra life going into the elimination stage.
I mean, a second life is nothing to scoff at. Yeah, it's not your tournament life, but it very well could be. Inzhagi was able to preserve his second life for the entirety of the Prince Cup Pacific, going down in the semifinals, and then using that second opportunity to clinch a victory, going right back to the finals and taking the entire tournament.
Yep, but on the other hand, we saw Kevin C immediately losing their extra life and then somehow clawing their way back in anyway. Wait, no, yeah, I think I remembered that wrong. Whoops.
No, Kevin Z also lost and then clinched it back. Both players like using the second life to the fullest, losing it out fairly late into the tournament, and then using that to make a comeback after they learned their opponent's habits.
Yeah, sure.
Which, in Ting's case, is just to gamble.
Ha.
Wait, who brings Kenki to a high-level tournament?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm gambling.
Yeah, Kenki appearing is always a treat, but unfortunately Kenki is not here in this meta, so the only thing we have here is trolling.
You know, controversial opinion, Kenki is just worse Kachina. Like, they both kind of want to do the same thing, but Kachina just does it more consistently because there's less dice costs associated with it.
Yeah, Kenki has a lot of restrictive dice costs.
Well, speaking of restrictive dice costs, Air, once again, turn 1, is forced to tune something for that prop arrow. Inzhagi will as well, so it's not all bad.
Yep, both of them will decide to tune one thing. Inzhagi having that second copy of Mao in hand might actually be the tune for this time.
Sadly enough for Air, this time he has the dice for the Kachin talent into Turbo Twirly, but just won't get to use it because he has no talent. Depression all around.
Right, and anyway, the two of them will now play their round 1 standard lines unless someone wants to deviate for some reason or another. Probably because of... Yeah, there's no reason to. Unless one of them want to safeguard their Kachina.
Nah.
Yeah, because Air cannot play Boar Princess either, because that's that's not gonna work out the way you want it to.
Yeah, just the dice isn't working out in this case because you don't have the overflowing Philogistine to let you preserve that second Night Soul point to get the Covenant of Rock off.
Yep.
That's
Actually,
fine,
another thing that's gonna be a factor in bringing inequalities to this mirror match is the character placement. As you can see,
you're right.
Yep, the placement for Kachina and Lini is swapped, and Kachina's trolling deals damage to the character on the right side.
I mean, Air completely min-maxed for this matchup. You know, a lot of players these days don't actually order characters for min-maxing because Overload and Jean and Sucrose aren't really in the meta, so you don't really need to think about your character order, and Inzhagi just, I guess, going for his favored placement or something like that, but Air's still going for the min-max order, paying off in this matchup. His Navi is going to be a lot healthier in comparison.
Oh, Inzhagi decides to actually use the second Niso point to immediately use the regular technique instead of switching back to Lini and letting the aura be consumed.
Covenant now swap Lini, and then we're happy because our opponent gives us an extra Crystallize, which means more Shrapnel in our deck.
Possibly.
No,
but instead, Golden Troops reward. Ends the turn. And the inequalities now show themselves. It is 20 HP to 21 HP. Air will be going first.
Yep. Because we decided to swap Lini, means ours is a lot lower. So Inzhagi can start twirling on Kachina a lot faster. But we also can get our second prop arrow out as well.
Yeah, or an elemental skill from Lini if you want to really rush that Kachina.
I think most of our Kachinavia players prefer to go for the prop arrow from what I've seen, just because it gives them the extra power aura to work with. It really depends on how much aura they already have on the opponent, though. In this case, I think prop arrow is preferable because we're expecting Inzhagi to stay on the Kachina. We do need to tune for it, though. That's sad.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, Air is once again missing one Pyro.
We'd love to be missing one Geo instead, because the Golden Troop is going to be taking a lot of the dice requirements off of our Kachina. This is a bit depressing.
Yep, and we'll have to see how Air handle this.
Mirror matches for aggro is always so funny, because the decks are so straightforward in what they want to do. It's, you just skill, swap, swap, etc, etc. But because you also know the opponent wants to do the same thing, you need to find like these variations of these lines to try to eke out the edge, especially if you don't have turn prio.
Yeah, it's like that joke of I've outsmarted, you are outsmarting, except both sides are outsmarting like pickles.
And sometimes the outsmart to the opponent's outsmarting is just to not change anything at all.
Yep, and in most cases, deviating off of the main line in aggro decks is a DPS loss, though sometimes it can actually be to your benefit, and sometimes you are better off just doing what you want.
The standard line is the standard line because it is the most efficient way you can play that deck. Sometimes you deviate because you don't get the dice, you don't have the correct cards in hand, but that's fine.
Yeah. What do you mean I have to adjust to my opponent? My opponent needs to adjust to me.
Says every Bennett player ever before losing him turn 1 to some random FDK they've never seen before.
Ha! It's an MMORPG joke, though I do agree that Bennett's Circle Impact does come up at the weirdest of times.
Yep. You always think you're safe, and then you lose your character to the most obvious FDK you've ever seen. And then it looks so obvious in hindsight that you look kind of stupid.
In the main game, the Circle Impact happens after your Bennett burst, though in TCG, the Circle Impact happens before your Bennett bursts.
In this case, the circle is the big red circle with an accident on your Bennett with its name.
Yep. That is certainly how it works sometimes. to defeat the Bennett deck, defeat the Bennett. Right, but enough of Bennetts and circles. We are now back to the trolling face-off between Kachina and Kachina.
Currently, Inzhagi has a slight advantage both in dice and in momentum because he was not forced to swap. So he was able to get the Turbo Twirly off and start twirling faster. That being said, Air has a healthier Kachina, so he can twirl for longer.
Yep, and also placed down that Chiioris. So now Air certainly has the option to simply start trolling until the opposing Kachina falls down.
Now, Mound Mystique Soup. Do you want to fish for something? No.
No.
Just keep twirling.
Yeah, that trolling might end up doing something interesting here. Let's see.
No thoughts, head empty. Just keep twirling.
Yep, Kachina is now... Air's Kachina is now out of twirls, so Inzhagi can safely ride Turbo Twirly just fine. Though the problem comes when Air decides to twirl one more time as Kachina will be out.
I like the idea here for Inzhagi to just go over to Linny. Because if we don't, and we just keep twirling each other's faces, not only is our own Kachina going to go down, we also lose the Pyro Aura on Air's Linny instead. This way we get to try to maintain our Kachina HP a little bit, and we can also try to get more Pyro Aura with a prop arrow as well.
True. I actually don't think that it's gonna be easy to access that Pyro Aura now. This is like the positional advantage that Air has over Inzhagi.
Yeah, Navi had 6 HP, that's brutal. In theory, Air only needs 3 Shrapnel in order to one-shot her with his own Navia skill. Thankfully enough for Inzhagi though, Air doesn't have the Navia talent to draw more Shrapnel after that skill.
Then again, another thing that Inzhagi could do is to prop arrow now, or elemental skill to...
Big brain time. If we're Air, we swap Linny. Never mind. We're a coward.
Yep, there's the elemental skill. Heals up to 1, and now Air can twirl into Linny and take down the Kachina in the process.
I was honestly kind of down for the swap Linny play. The reason being is that our opponent was very obviously positioned to try to go for a prop arrow or a prop surplus. And if we go Linny, we deny them the power aura and force them to go for the kill. Which means they have less shrapnel in their deck overall because they have less aura to work with. And then we can... And if they don't do that, that's fine because we can prop arrow on our own or just skill because their Linny already had pyro. And even if they didn't do that, we had enough dice to swap to Kachina and twirl anyways. So it was fine regardless.
Oh, Inzhagi goes for swapping to Navia. Maybe trying to snipe the Kachina at some point later.
Not enough dice, so this is fine.
Yeah, and also got 1 dice from the board princess, so now...
Wait. We gamble? Do we get the minus cost? No, healing.
No,
okay.
+2. The minus cost doesn't matter. Okay, well,
minus
kind
cost
of
would have let us... Minus cost would have let us kill Kachina. Which is actually kind of big.
Yep.
Well, right now Inzhagi's Navia is throwing a lethal onto both of our characters, Linny and Kachina. But we kind of don't want to swap to our own Navia, because that's going to hurt. But we
apparently we do.
To. Well, it's because not only do we lose a character, we're also going to give our opponent a Gambler's Reset, which Inzhagi just top decked. But if our opponent has talent as well, it gives them even more shrapnel to work with, which is never ideal.
Yep. Air also top decked the Gambler's Earrings, so now it's time for either one of them to start gamblersing.
Neither player has shrapnel drawn just yet, so the Navias don't do particularly that much damage. And they haven't been able to crystallize that much either, so it's not like they have too much shrapnel to work with either.
Decent dice for both. Though Inzhagi will probably want to be playing that Navia talent.
The hands are almost identical. Look at that.
Hmm.
Navia Talent, Gamblers, Dawn Winery, Sing Your Heart Out. The only difference is the Covenant of Rock and the Chef Mao. That's kind of funny.
Yep. Yep. Goes to show just how similar mirror matches can be. Like that
Hear me
single
out.
positional difference. Yep.
For air, I think we've managed to get 2 crystallizes off, which means we have 6 shrapnel in our deck. What if the play is to Sing Your Heart Out, pray we draw 3 shrapnel, so we go 3 for 3 on the draw, and then Gambler's Talent one-shot our opponent's Navia. Oh, this is kind of risky.
Yep, there's talent against talent.
I don't know if I like
Inzhagi
that.
has to...
We know our opponent has shrapnel. This is 7 damage. No. Yeah, this is... No, it's 5 damage. Sorry. I'm doing my math wrong. What did I...
It's only 5 damage.
Why did I think Navia did 5 damage based on skill? What am I thinking? I'm so confused.
Oh, that's not a good draw.
Very late.
Hmm.
Sing Your Heart Out, draw 1 shrapnel, Gamblers, triple shrapnel skill. I don't think we have enough dice for that, never mind.
Yeah,
We definitely don't have the dice for that.
Yeah, Inzhagi doesn't have the dice for anything else. And that's not looking good in general.
I think it's probably just a Gambler's normal attack here.
I
like the idea of keeping our shrapnel, because if they go to Kachina, we can play the shrapnel to kill her, force the one to Linny, and if they go Linny, we have our own to skill and deal 4 damage with.
There's a Gambler's Place, and Shrapnel once, and a normal attack. Yep. Oh, that's another Shrapnel. Normal attack gets back 2 dice.
And here, if we're Inzhagi, we're in a bit of a tough spot. We don't have enough dice to go for a kill on 2 characters. Well, we can go to Kachina. No, because then we don't have enough dice to play Gamblers, which is... That's the crucial thing here.
Yep.
There's not enough dice to get a kill into 2 characters, and if we don't, well... Kachina can just place Turbo Twirl, use Covenant, and start twirling.
I think here you sing, and then you pass.
I think that's...
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's probably the most correct way to play.
I think going for the kill here is absolutely the wrong play, because Kachina will just twirl and win on the spot. With Covenant, there is enough dice for it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
That saves us some extra dice shenanigans.
Yeah, the extra dice from Covenant of Rock. After all, Air hasn't placed that down yet, and Inzhagi knows this. So if there's some nasty little like shrapnel plays, that's not gonna be fun for anyone involved. Oh,
wait, where do you have a free swap from? Where did that come from?
It's not a free swap. It's...
Oh wait, it's the Golden Troop, so it reduces the cost of the Kachina skill.
Yep. That's the only thing.
Oh, I didn't even realize. I completely forgot she had that.
Ooh, Mystic Soup!
Okay, there's a chance.
Okay, there's a chance. There's a chance.
Well, not really, because Navi
out.
has a lot of shrapnel in hand, and it probably kills through it regardless, but that's fine. We can pray.
Oh,
something big.
Yeah, that's 3 shrapnel. That's not gonna make it.
It's 6 damage for Linny. He has at most 5 HP, effectively, because the 2 damage reduction or 2 healing.
Yep, and Navia hits for 6.
The character placement actually comes up so big. You can see that because Air's Navia took that much less piercing damage, it gets to live on 2 HP, whereas Inzagi's Navia is dead.
Source Crackers.
Source Crackers always comes late.
Yep.
It's such a fake card. It never appears.
Huh. And here we continue. In fact, even if yeah, no, it's not happening. And that's the end of the game. Game 3 goes to Air.
Congratulations to Air. Game 2 was a bit choppy. Game 1 was just a masterclass. Perfect timing with the Yumkasaurus stealing away the Snow Players there. And Game 3, it felt kind of won before it even started. But the slight optimization in character placements, in deck building, I feel like is what really won Air this game. Being able to preserve the extra HP on Navia let him have so much more pressure in the end stages, whereas Inzhagi just lost the Navia because it took too much piercing damage from Kachina.
Yeah, the character placement really matters. The placement there was absolutely to deal with other Kachina decks, indeed. And
what might have happened for Inzhagi is he was expecting other Kachina players to try to min-max around that, and so he ordered his Kachina deck to try to counter Kachina decks who were ordered to counter Kachina decks. But it kind of backfired because Air just didn't change anything. And sometimes the outsmarting to someone else's outsmarting is to just not do anything.
Yep. You are foreshadowing, man. It always works. Honestly, what do you think would happen if Inzhagi had faith in this Eremite deck and chose it instead?
Probably would have lost Game 3, realistically speaking, because the opponent had Kachinavia, and Kachinavia is an aggro deck, and so the worst case scenario for Air is you either go to Kachinavia Mirror, or you go to an advantage matchup versus what appears to be a combo deck, because I see Clarine.
Yeah, that's certainly... It's certainly not good for Inzhagi to go into that matchup like that. Regardless, since this is only for the extra life, Inzhagi will still be moving on to the elimination stage, just with one extra life. One less extra life.
Yeah, I mean, he still makes it, which is fine, but his back is going to be against the wall the entire time, so he cannot afford any more mistakes. Even in deck building with character ordering, you gotta really lock in and min-max everything now.
Yep, even in character ordering, people. Remember that. And also, if you want to beat other Kachinavia decks, consider checking your character positioning. Right, for the bracket review, as you can remember from the matches in this day, Taobao will be moving on to the elimination stage alongside Inzhagi in the losers bracket, while Tada no Megane will be going home. And Inzhagi, Air will be entering the elimination stage in the winners bracket.
Unfortunately, this will also put a conclusion onto the EN cast for now. The Chinese matches are still going on Bilibili, which is a separate channel, so make sure to go check that out if you're interested in some more GITCG. But that being said, the English cast is over for now. We will be back for the finals. Here's the schedule. We're going to be back for the elimination stage on Monday, June 9th. Or I think that's June, probably.
Yep. That's
yes. June. I can't read my calendars. It's very hard.
Don't worry, reading calendars is hard for everyone. Right, and for a refresher on the elimination stage, the 12 players who advance from the Prince and Fonta regional qualifiers will compete in a double elimination format, much like this one, except matches will be best of 5 conquests with bans, and the grand final will be best of 7 conquests with bans.
Which does mean that, as fun as Kachinavia is, players will finally be able to ban out what feels like such a dominating deck. By then, maybe the patch notes come in as well for the next patch. I haven't been paying attention to the patch cycle. I don't think so, actually. So, could be a new meta, or they can just ban Kachinavia. Who knows?
Yeah, the new patch notes might be coming in the days on the close to the finals, but we will not be seeing them yet until Hoyoverse says so.
That does mean, though, that is the end of our games today. I hope you guys had fun watching. I know I absolutely had fun watching, even though some of them were kind of just two Kachinas twirling on each other. But fun is fun, and twirling is kind of cool, too.
Yep. Beyblade, babe. Is this copyrighted?
Who knows? Best not to risk it.
Ha. Let it rip.
Yeah. That was my childhood. I loved those things.
It was not my childhood, though I did in fact rip it at school sometimes.
Yeah, and then they made them plastic, because kids were being dumb. And then it kind of...
That's a shame.
It was a shame.
Right, regardless, that will be all for AstraNox Invitation for the Prince Regional Stage. I'm Summation.
And this is Sumi.
And we bid you all farewell.